Good afternoon. Good evening and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. We got some things we're going to be jumping into today. We got some things to get into today. Something that we've all been waiting for, right? We've all been wanting to know what's going to happen with this man's sentencing. Is this man going to be sentenced, hold up in jail until October for his sentencing? Or is it going to be moved up a few months so we can just get over it, right? Get it all over with. Finding out what's really going on so that we can all live our lives, right? We all want to know what's going on, right? What is the verdict for his sentencing? Because there's a few things. I know some of you guys I've been reading the chat. Some of you guys are saying things wrong, okay? So we're going to correct those things today so you know what's going on, okay? And I say that with all the love in my heart. All the love in my heart. But please do me a favor before we get into everything, okay? Because, of course, we're going to be doing one of those long trial type of things, sitting through, watching a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be a crazy one, but we're here for it anyway. So please do me a favor before we get into everything. Hit that like button down below. Please and thank you, okay? Hit that like button down below. Hit that reaction button, please and thank you. Don't forget to hit that follow button or that reaction button wherever you're watching this show. If you're watching on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, please hit that follow button or subscribe button, whatever they say that is needed to be done to hit so that you can continue to follow or be subscribed to those pages. Please do that, okay? Don't forget to subscribe here. If you're watching on the YouTubes, subscribe here on my YouTube channel, please and thank you. That would be greatly appreciated. All right. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Make sure you're subscribed over there as well. That'd be greatly appreciated too. Hit that bell. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live on both channels. So you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random. All right. Don't forget to do that. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. All right? PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. Okay, guys. All right, guys. And, of course, there's some other news that we're going to be talking about today because, obviously, there's updates revolving around the floods that were going on in Texas. Now I'm understanding that there's floods going on in other areas of America. Yeah, this is... It's nonstop, guys. It's nonstop. But so we're going to be doing kind of like a hybrid mix of coverage on the trial and then, of course, the news that's going on right now. Okay. Now, just so that you guys know, the trial or the hearing, not the trial, but the hearing for if Diddy is going to have his sentencing sooner or later is going to happen here in the next, let's just see, in the next 15 minutes. It's supposed to start in 15 minutes, just so you guys know. Now, one thing is for sure. Diddy is not granted bond. He was denied bail after his verdict. His team was like, hey, he's been found guilty on lesser charges for the pro charges, if you get what I'm saying. We got to use these code words. And they basically said, we'd like to get him bail so that when it's time for his bail hearing, or not for his sentencing hearing, he's had a little bit of time to spend time with his family, spend time with whatever, right? Have a moment to breathe in some of this freedom air, right? I just want to make this abundantly clear. The judge denied bail just last week. They denied bail, guys. So he is not getting out anytime soon. Here's the other thing, too. This is why we're having a hearing today, to find out exactly when his sentencing is going to happen. Now, it was planned that in October, he's supposed to have his sentencing. The one thing that his team has asked, they said, well, please, can we please have the sentencing a little bit sooner than just a few months from now? So the judge said, fine, we can get into a room and we can talk about the whole thing. And that's exactly what this hearing is about today, to find out whether or not he's going to be sentenced next week, or if he's going to, as soon as next week, or if he's going to be sentenced as late as October from what they have planned already on the docket. His sentencing is for October, but they're trying to move it up so that he can get sentenced quicker and then he can get out of prison faster as well. Remember, yes, he dodged some major bullets. Let me just say that again. He dodged major bullets, okay? With the RICO charges and those STing charges. He most definitely dodged major bullets. But at the same time, he is still scheduled to be locked up in prison for at least a couple of years, just so you know. And that's even, by the way, adding time already spent in prison or in jail, okay? While he was awaiting his trial, he's been in there for a little bit. So again, the judge could literally give him a maximum of 20 years, or it could be as little as a few years with time spent, okay, already in jail. So again, we will find out what his sentencing is on a later date. But today is the day that we find out whether or not he's going to be sentenced soon, or if they're sticking with the date that they had, which is October 3rd. Now, let me tell you something, though. I will say this. I truly believe that he's going to get moved. The date for his sentencing is going to be moved up. I already know that. Let's be real. They're going to move it up. Because obviously you could tell the judge is already kind of willing to, bend a little bit for that. And I'm going to be real. I mean, if he gets, whether he does October or if he does, like, let's just say they say, okay, in August, as soon as next month, we're going to do the sentencing. It doesn't matter, right? The sentencing will still remain the same. He'll still be locked up in prison for however long he gets given, okay? And then he'll be out. So it doesn't matter if he does October 3rd or if he does as soon as, it could be as soon as next week. Real talk, okay? Still, no matter what, time will be spent in prison for sure, okay? Now, we're going to find out about that for sure, okay? And again, like I said, they're supposed to be in court. Court is supposed to start on at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is literally 10 minutes from now. And of course, Inner City Press will be in the house, giving us live tweets of everything that's going on in regards to that. But the thing is there's a few things I've been sitting on because I wanted to give them to you guys and share these things with you guys real quick before we get into everything. This still has to do with Diddy. Okay, there was just something I haven't gotten a chance to really do yet, which is there was an interview that was done by the alternate juror. Now, we only saw a clip of it because it was only teased right around the time that the verdict came out and we were doing the verdict aftermath. Everybody was losing their doggone minds, and people are still losing their doggone minds in these internet streets. Let me just be real on that. I may talk about that here briefly before we go into this video. But while we were going and discussing everything, out of nowhere, there was a video that came out, right? An interview with, let's see if I can find his face. Well, give me a close-up. This guy right here, okay? Now, in the beginning, they said this was an unnamed guy, right? But now we're understanding that this dude's name is George, okay? And he is quite the curious George, okay? Wrote over 300 and some odd pages worth of notes for this particular trial. And then he doesn't end up becoming one of the main jurors. He ends up becoming an alternate. So he sat through the weeks on weeks of this trial only for him to be sat on the sidelines And of course, he did an exclusive interview on CNN, and he said a lot of things that just don't make a whole lot of sense. But then there's some things that do, right? And I think there's a lot of people that are asking a lot of questions revolving around this particular video and this particular interview. Now, I know that there's allegedly another juror that has spoken out, didn't go online or go on camera or anything like that, but did an interview out there with some legacy media outlet, speaking on the choice, the choices that the decisions that the jury took or made to exonerate Diddy for the major charges that he was looking at, right? Because obviously there is a lot of rumor running around right now saying that Diddy paid these mother lovers off. You know what I'm going to say, and this is going to be kind of wild. I don't entirely think that he did. I don't think he did. I think he tampered with witnesses. Did he tamper with the jury? That still remains to be seen. And I think that a lot of people are feeling that way because they were hoping that he was going to get locked up for good, that he was going to take the fall, take accountability, be found guilty of the RICO and the STing of Jane Doe and Cassie. But he didn't. He passed. I guess with flying colors. But the other thing is, as well, I am also still curious about the juror that was being tough. Remember the very beginning of deliberation, about an hour or so into their deliberation, they sent out a note to the courtroom saying, well, juror number 25 is being a pain in the butt. He's not willing to abide by the judge's instructions, right? Please do something about this. I wonder what that was all about. Like, I'm still wanting to know, what was that about? Why did juror number 25 suddenly become a pain in the butt? What was his issue, right? So I am kind of curious about that as well, right? But nonetheless, we got a juror alternate that came out, wanted to say something, okay? And it's just a very interesting interview. So I want to share this real quick, okay? Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading some of your comments here. But I wanted to share this. I'm going to speed this up too, because honestly, it's a long interview. But I do want us to check this out. In the meantime, while we wait for trial to get started, okay? So I'm going to speed this up a tad bit. Let's freaking rock and roll.
Alternate juror who was in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, George, is joining us right now. This was 7 weeks of your life, hearing all of this testimony. You were an alternate. You did not deliberate, but did you agree with the final verdict?
I understood the final verdict. And I think if I, because I took a copious amount of notes overall, I took 350 pages worth of notes. Because at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate, who was the main juror until literally the last second when they were reading when the judge was reading his entire statement at the end. It was like, the first 12 of you are the jurors, the last 5 are the alternates. So we didn't know, even in the jury room, no one treated everyone, we were equal because we didn't know who was who.
Would you have acquitted him on RICO?
I think reading all my notes and looking back at the evidence, I probably would have reached the same conclusion as the other jurors.
What was it about that charge?
I don't, the thing with when it, because we were asked and the judge had instructed us that we have to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. And I think there was always a little bit of doubt in people's mind. And I think it was a tough case to prove, especially the first one. And there was always a little bit of doubt there, even from the beginning.
Why did you doubt?
I think some of the charges, some of the witnesses, if you look at it one way, but then when you were listening to the defense, you could see it's their way as well.
Were there any witnesses that made you think, I don't believe this?
There was one that I think unanimously we kind of all said like, wow, like it was almost like watching like TV. Mm. It was like like when I think her name was Dawn Richard, that one. Mm-hmm. When she on cross-examination. I mean, I never saw such a cross-examination. It was very impressive to watch.
What was it about it?
I think just how the defense, got into her and really made her, look very not credible. I mean, I even wrote in my notebook that it was like a takedown.
Really?
Yeah.
I will say Don Richards, you even saw me. I was reading the transcript in real time, and I was like, this is bad. Her whole thing was bad. And I even said, too, I was like, are they trying to get their own Perry Mason moment? Which clearly they got, because she crumbled under the defense's cross-examination. That was absolutely sure. Zoo Tours. She definitely got cooked. Okay. That was a bad look for her, because now I feel that anybody who's seen that, who saw her testimony, read the transcript or read what Inner City Press put out, they're all going to sit there and be side-eyeing the hell out of her now too. Some people might look at her and say they don't believe her. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, she kind of fell. She fell on her own sword. Real talk. She fell on her own sword in real time.
That was pretty early on.
That was pretty early on.
From the opening statements, did you have a mindset of who you thought had a better case?
No. I think overall, from the way I look at it, both sides presented really good. Both sides presented themselves well. We were very impressed with the prosecution and the defense, how they, the professionalism, how they carried themselves. I mean, it was really good lawyering, they say.
Racketeering.
Hold on real quick. And if you notice, like, he is really praising the defense, which is crazy, right? It's like, oh yeah, the defense did a really great job. They're so professional. They did such a great job, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I feel like some people are going to be looking at that and side-eyeing the hell out of that too, right? And then you got to be real. We're already going to hear some other people that are going to say that prosecution, right, was very professional and did a good job and all that. I think that they did a decent job. I think both had their own weaknesses and had their strengths, and they ran hard on their strengths, and they tried to cover up and, throw some cosmetics on their weaknesses. But those weaknesses most definitely poked out, in my personal opinion. And that's on both sides of this whole trial, for sure. Like I said before, why wasn't Christina Korm, at least when we speak on the prosecution side, why wasn't Christina Korm brought in? Why weren't they leaning more on the pew charges? Why weren't they leaning on, so many of these other charges that were literally looming over Diddy's head that they could have really ran with, but they didn't. You see what I'm saying? So again, very, very weird stuff. Let's continue.
It is notoriously a complex case. Did you feel that the prosecution presented enough evidence to support that there was even an enterprise?
I think they did the best that they could, but I think it was a tough case to prove.
Why?
I mean, when you look at the charges, kidnapping, arson, forced labor, the government had one side, but then the defense, they had some pretty good rebuttals to it. So I mean that I think added some doubt always, and I think in people's mind.
You didn't hear from some of the people the government said were co-conspirators, like employees,
like Christina Karam, and
example,
and
or D-Rock. Yeah. Did that affect your thoughts about the case?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have wanted to hear from them?
We always thought that maybe we would hear from them, but maybe we also understood maybe why they wouldn't be called.
Why?
Because maybe they didn't want to testify, or they wouldn't really be proving the case, or maybe it would be not advantageous to be called. So, but honestly, we were just waiting till the end, until when the judge gave his instructions and how to interpret the law. Because I think everyone really didn't have anything made up, their mind made up, or in any way. It was really, everyone was waiting to see how, the definitions and how everything was going to be interpreted and what they were to be looked at. Exactly.
So
hold on. I beg to differ on that. Okay. He just said, oh yeah, I don't think anybody really had their mind made up. There was no decisions made before or even during the trial. It wasn't until after that they made made decisions on what their verdict was. I honestly, truly believe that there were a good portion of people that already had their verdict before they even started the trial. That's what I truly think, solely because of stuff that they already knew about, stuff that they have already seen. And maybe I also will say, I think some really solidified where they stood within the first testimony with Cassie. I think that's right after Cassie's testimony. I truly think that verdicts were already brimming. I think they were already going, oh, okay. For sure it's this, for sure it's that, blah, 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 right? But I also think, if anything, okay, if they weren't really making any decisions until much later, it was right when Jane Doe took the stand. I'll tell you what. It was right when she took that mother-loving stand that I think that a lot of them were like, nah, yeah, there is a pattern. Yes, there's a lot of DV here, but he's not here for the DV. You know, he's a piece of trash for doing what he did. He's trash for doing what he did, but they seem like willing participants. She keeps still calling him her lover, schnookums, and all that. It's all bad. It's all bad. It was all bad, right? It was all bad. So again, I think the very beginning, I think there was a good portion of people that already had their decisions before they even got done with Cassie. But then when they did the Jane Doe's was bad. And I think Diddy was sitting there just like in his mind going, yes, keep saying I'm a good, keep saying I'm the best, and then I'm schnookums and I'm still your lover. Yes, right? But it doesn't help also the fact that like somebody like Jane Doe was also getting paid, or well, not getting paid, but she was also, well, yeah, she was basically still on Diddy's payroll. That she was still showing up, testifying against Diddy, yet she was on Diddy's payroll. That's a weird thing, guys. Okay, that is very, very weird. But again, see, D is saying the same thing that a lot of people are saying right now, which is basically saying like this trial was going to be a win for Diddy from the very beginning. That this whole thing was rigged. Now, here's the thing, D. The only question I have on this, and because honestly, everyone has, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people feel the same way. My question is this. If it was really rigged, if it was really 110% truly rigged, 110%, he would have walked out free as a bird, guilty on all, not guilty on all charges. He would have been acquitted if the whole thing was rigged. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't know. Because I feel like it would be absolutely insane for Diddy, if he was rigging this whole thing, to turn to jurors and say, hey, man, I need you to just have me get not guilty on the big things. I'll do time for the pros. Yeah. That's it. That makes no sense. If I were Diddy, and now that we've really gotten to know Diddy, real talk, we're like besties with him right now, okay? We now know, like, he, you know, we know everything about him now, okay? He has more diseases than the monkey in Outbreak, real talk. He loves himself some spilled vanilla milkshakes, and when he is feeling a bit horny, he loves vegetable soup and applesauce on everything. We now know him so well. Do you really think, after knowing him so well now, after someone who only wants to win all day long, all I do is win, no matter what, right? You really think he's going to sit there and go, nah, just get me off. Just get me off on the big charges. I'll take the pro. Nah, he going to be like, wipe it clean. Let me go. Amistad, give us a free, right? He ain't going to sit there and say, no, because I don't want them thinking that I paid you off. You feel me? So give me the lesser charges, okay? But find me not guilty on the big ones, because I don't want to be locked up for life. Hell no. He's going to say, exonerate me on all. And I will make sure, I will sweeten that paycheck. I will sweeten that deal for you. All right? Real talk. Some of us on Kick just said, he's going to oil up everyone. Yeah. Oh, he going to do that inside that prison. You know, he got to do something. You know what I'm saying? You got to do something to kill the time. But like I said, we now know him very well. So for someone who always likes to win, do you really, really think he's going to turn to the jurors and say, I'm going to pay you guys, but I still need to spend some time in prison. Hell no. Are you out your rabbit mind? He gonna say, I want out. Set me free, right? If it was fully rigged, set me free. So that's why I instantly go, was it really rigged? The jury? Maybe not. I think he paid off witnesses. I think he messed with people for show. But the jury, don't think so. And I think one of them, I think it was potentially going to be rigged when juror number 6 got caught lying. He lied, y'all. Remember that. He lied. He straight up lied. Right? So again, just something to think about as we continue. Let's cook, because I want to see what's going on with Inner City Press and all that too. Okay, hold on. Deborah, thank you so much. Deborah, thank you. I appreciate it. Did he want to end up with a Tiger King-esque hubby? Yes, he will. All just ate up with meth. Okay, just having a good old time. Okay, hi, you crazy cats and kittens. You know what I'm saying? I know that's the Carol Baskin, but you know, Tiger King, Carol Baskin, they're one and the same. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the sex trafficking cases, because of court charges. Obviously, Cassie Ventura testified visibly pregnant for days.
Yes.
How did her testimony impact you in your understanding of the case?
Here we go.
It did. You know, I listened. You know, we listened very intently. It was, I think, 5 days or forever of thing. And you know, it was very riveting. And it was very riveting testimony and very credible testimony.
You believed her?
I mean, I think we did. I think we did. I mean, she wouldn't have done all this just to come up there and you know, lie about everything. So no, I don't think even the defense didn't come out and say anything like that.
Did the money that they talked about in terms of a civil settlement she received, did that color her testimony for you at all?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No.
Did you look at the defendant, Diddy Combs, differently after her testimony?
No, I didn't really look at him too much. I mean, I always looked at him because my point of view was just literally at him, like some people were on the side, but I was more in the corner. So I was always like staring at him. But I don't think he was mostly just very composed and talking with his lawyers and very in control. It seemed like, you know, because I think I mean, I'm not really familiar too much with cases and I don't really follow, you know, cases in court. So I don't know how defendants usually act. But sometimes what I've heard in you know, from the news is that some defendants, you know, they just sit very stoically. They don't interact with their lawyers. They just let their lawyers talk and go. But he was very, you know, talking with them, writing notes, doing that. So you could tell that he was, you know, he was fighting for himself.
Again, obviously, Diddy, who also is most definitely a control freak, obviously he is doing everything he can to control, right, and direct his team so that he doesn't get in trouble. Now, what's interesting about this too is Cassie. He says Cassie's testimony was believable and very riveting. He also says that it didn't, her money, her, you know, getting a settlement of $30 million did not deter or change his opinions about what was being said on the stand. I mean, it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't. I truly think that what was being said there is, you know, I think she was telling the truth. I believe she was telling the truth. And maybe Diddy changed his ways later on. I don't know. But we have to pause this for a second because there is an update here that I do want to share with y'all. And this was posted about 3 minutes ago, okay, from Inner City Press. So we're going to take a look at this, okay? It's over. Diddy's defense submitted one letter, then a second. The deputy said the judge will be back in writing on to other cases. So it looks like something's going on, okay? And Big Migs, real quick, I have yet to see. You're talking about the one on Art of Dialogue, right? Is that the one you're talking about? He made some crazy points. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. He made some crazy points. They had weapon charges that was an easy 10 years, but they didn't charge him for that. That's exactly what I'm talking about, guys. Like I said, they completely glossed over the pew-pew charges. Sup with that, right? Makes no bloody sense, love. No bloody sense, love. Nothing whatsoever. No bloody sense Doesn't make sense, guys. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, it doesn't. Crazy, right? And it looks like, just so you guys know, and we'll take a look at that. Big Migs, thank you so much. And if I forget, remind me before the show is over, okay? Real quick, Deborah, have you seen the videos of Braxton Wells about the VP of Tyler Perry Films? Yes, we're going to be doing a separate show on that for sure, too, okay? Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing. We're going to be talking about that for sure, okay? Promise, promise, promise. So, we'll be talking about that most likely later, okay? So this is very interesting. Okay, so now we have this. This is from Mark Agnifilo, okay, Diddy's lawyer. So it says, Dear Judge, the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedules for sentencing, post-verdict motions, and submission of offense conduct to the probation office. So for sentencing, the parties propose the court's original date of October 3rd. So he's still going to be locked up until October 3rd, okay? He's going to be locked up until October 3rd, all right? The defense proposes that the probation office provides the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report, a PSR, on or before August 29th, 2025, that the defense objections to the PSR be filed on or before September 5th, 2025, that the government objections to the PSR are filed on or before September 12th, 2025, and that the probation office disclose their final PSR on September 18th, 2025, that the defense's sentencing memorandum be filed on or before September 19th, and that the government sentencing memorandum being filed on September 26, 2025. The government and the probation office do not object to this schedule. So for post-verdict motions, the parties propose that the defense file any post-verdict motions on or before July 30th, so later on this month, and that the government respond on or before August 20th, 2025. Finally, the government requests that it be permitted to submit its summary of offense conduct on or before July 11th, 2025, and the defense does not object. We appreciate the court's consideration. So again, this is very interesting. That's all it is. They sent out that letter. They said, yep, we agree. We will stick with the original date of October 3rd. So Diddy's going to stay locked up until October 3rd. And then he will get his sentencing. I'm still wondering why they decided to hold out, right? I'm still wondering why they decided to hold out on that and let it continue on that date. Because for a fact, Diddy wants to get out as soon as possible. So the sooner he gets sentenced, the sooner he can get out, if that makes any sense. Okay? But yeah, court has been adjourned. Yeah, that's all, folks. Yeah. Until next time, right? So that is something that's very interesting, right? Even inner city press is like, on to the next one. It's time to get going. So just so you guys know, okay, they are still scheduled. They're maintaining and holding on to the original date of October 3rd for his sentencing. So we'll be here live talking about it for sure. So October 3rd, it's going on like Donkey Kong, okay, where he gets sentenced, okay? There's a bunch of other paperwork, other stuff that they're going to be doing in the meantime, in between time, leading up to his actual sentencing. But he's going to be holed up in prison, or in jail, sorry, not prison, but jail, until October 3rd. And then he will be sentenced on that day. So just for those y'all who need to know, want to know, and all that. But I'm going to go back to this, okay? Because we need to talk about this. And I really wanted to cover this with you guys. It's just been a crazy week, or a crazy weekend. And of course, Monday was really crazy as well, with everything that's going on in Texas. But now I'm hearing that there's flooding going on in other places like North Carolina as well. So the flooding ain't stopping, y'all. It's bad. But we're going to talk about all that and more in just a minute. let's just get through this interview. And you tell me your thoughts, guys. Are you thinking that this alternate juror is, is he spot on with what he's saying? Or do you think not? Right?
You saw some very graphic images, videos. You heard very sexual and graphic details. What was that like, hearing that? And how did it impact how you viewed the case?
No, they were very graphic, and but I think overall, it was we were looking at it from like one side, and it was definitely riveting and eye opening.
What did you see on the videos? The press wasn't able to see it in real time.
Yeah. No, I mean, they were showing some of the. Well, I mean, it was both the freak offs and hotel nights, as they were called, from both of them. But it was.
What were they showing those videos?
They showed, well, again, the defense and the prosecution showed different clips, so they were very selective. Like the prosecution was showing more, just Cassie just sitting around.
The defense showed that.
Defense showed that, yeah.
Just her sitting around not engaging in sexual activity.
Yes.
The prosecution, when you had to have your headphones on, and otherwise, what were you seeing then?
There was sexual activity, but I mean, it wasn't.
Okay. So it's interesting that he said that the prosecution first was showing her just lounging around in a hotel and just having fun, eating grapes, right? And then she's like, wait a second, was it the defense showing that, or was it the prosecution? Because in my mind, I'd be like, are you out your damn mind, prosecution, showing her having just enjoying her life, eating caviar, staying in a hotel room, when in actuality, if that's not what depicts or embodies what the freak-offs were about, why would prosecution send something like that? But she corrected him and was like, wait a second, is that prosecution or defense? You mean defense, right? And that's when he's like, oh, no. Yeah, defense. I also think that this guy is super, super nervous, y'all. I think he's nervous as hell. And he's trying to say what he needs to say without sounding like an idiot. And maybe he's like, this is the first time I've ever been, all these cameras on in my face and all that. This is insane. So I keep that, I put that in consideration as well. Right. But it is interesting that, defense is showing innocent videos of them loving each other, etc. But then prosecution is just straight up raw dogging Alabama slammer type stuff, right?
It wasn't really.
Was it force?
No, it didn't seem forced. It was actually like pretty tame.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she?
It was just a lot of rubbing oil and stuff on there. It wasn't anything too graphic.
Okay. Here's the other part that I go, wait a second. So you mean to tell me that the defense, or sorry, the prosecution, which side was actually showing tame hibbity dibbity? Because the way that they have described and talked about this, it's like it was wild, like moments of just straight poundage, for lack of a better term. Okay. Really crazy, really graphic, really raw, right? Literally raw. Okay. And he's like, oh, yeah, just simple, very tame. Doesn't sound tame the way that they've been talking about it, I don't know. Something about this seems a little weird. That's just me.
Let me ask you, this jury that deliberated did not find sex trafficking when it came to Cassie Ventura. They also didn't find it when it came to Jane. And I want to ask you about Jane in a moment. But did it surprise you when it came to Cassie Ventura that they did not convict on sex trafficking?
No, I think it was a difficult thing to prove, and I think there was always some doubt, whether, because I think what the judge says, it has to be forced, and I think the defense did show some messages where it didn't seem that it was forced.
Oh, her text messages. She talked about it.
Yeah.
That was really important to you to consider.
I think that was one aspect. Yes.
Did that make
you? That's insane too. Because again, you got somebody who's sitting there going, "Well, the text messages really sold me on this being consensual, 110%." And I think that's one of the big things that the defense leaned on tremendously. They said, "Look, she wanted this. She wanted to be a part of this. She couldn't wait for a next freak off. Can't wait to be your freak tonight. Can't wait to S some D for you." So on and so forth, right? But I think that what Ray just said, I hate to run with this, what you just said, but I think I agree that there are degrees. There's level to these freak offs. There's levels to this ish, right? Some are tame, some are absolutely insane, right? Where they're just going in, almost trying to kill each other. You know what I mean? With each other's naughty bits. You know what I mean? And then there's other parts where it's just like, almost like they're lovemaking, right? Where it's just very tame, rubbing baby oil on each other and stuff like that. I think that there's levels to this, and I think there's levels to the text messages as well. But again, it's the defense and it's the prosecution. It's their job to put together a case that sells it to the jury so that they think without a shadow of a doubt, yes, she was terrorized. Yes, she was put through this stuff, right? Here's the thing, though, too. The video, the hotel video, the attacks that she went through, the photos documenting the cuts and bruises that she endured at the hands of this man. None of those things played a factor for any of the jurors? It seems so weird to me. To me, I truly thought it was going to be pros and at least one ST, and it was going to be on Cassie. I thought it was going to be one ST on Cassie because, real talk, I think Jane Doe was more of a willing participant than Cassie was. Real talk. Okay? I truly believe that. But of course, I was wrong, right? So again, something's weird about this. Something's weird. Yes, there's levels to this ish, but there's levels on so many different things as well, especially in those text messages, especially in their relationship, right? Some days it was very loving. Then the next minute it's very, very toxic, right? And that's the other thing too, Brooklyn. You ain't wrong with that too. Put this in consideration as well. I mean, she could have been high as hell. She could have been on so much stuff, right? And then saying, I can't wait a second D. She could be saying that. You know what I mean? Because she's feeling, she's feeling a little something. You feel me? Right? So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But like I said, and what I just read in one of the messages, one of the chats here just a second ago, I agree. There are levels to this ish, right? And so we'll see. We'll see, obviously it's done, right? And I feel like eventually there will be more jurors coming out and speaking out. We'll just have to wait and see what they have to say about all this too. But this is crazy. Let me get this super chat here real quick. Libra King, thank you so much for the love. Or the text messages could have been to keep him from flying off the handle. That's what I mean by there's levels to this, right? It's either he's, and that's a good point, right? But it seems like the jury did not take the time to even argue that, even discuss that. It sounds like, at least from what this alternate juror is saying, is that those text messages were convincing enough for him to realize that she a freak, she a freak-a-leak, and he a freak-a-leak too. And that's it. They love in that swinger lifestyle, and he loves being a little cuck. That's literally what it is, right? But I think there's levels to this, guys. I truly do.
Feel that it was consensual?
It did seem like it, yeah.
Talk to me about...
Even in the videos and everything seemed very consensual.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. How about with Jane?
Hold on, sorry. This is where it gets really sticky in the middle of this video, pun intended. But again, what's interesting is he says, even in the videos, it seemed very consensual. All of it seemed consensual. Remember, he said, the videos seem tame. There ain't, in my personal opinion, there's nothing tame about knowing the backstory of the people in the video, knowing that person, the girl, is having relations with another dude in the video while her man is on the perimeter filming and directing them to do certain things. That is odd. Okay, sure, you can go and find a lot of this stuff online, okay, on P-Hub and all these other spicy websites, okay, but at the same time, this is not that. This is them doing this stuff on their own free time. To me, this is not tame content, especially when you're sitting there going, oh, dang, That's Cassie with a whole other guy, while Diddy's in the background filming and rubbing one out with Astroglide. That is not tame. You see what I'm saying? So again, interesting. But you know what, Stacey, you got a good point there though too. All right. We don't know what was seen in the video, but at the same time though, if prosecution really didn't show video of them like going in, all pistons firing off at once, that would be a waste of a trial, guys. Let's be real. It'd be a waste of a trial. If it's just videos of them just going, oh yeah, baby, oh, all over your body, and that's all they're doing, and that's all the content you're seeing, then what's the point of even having this trial? You see what I'm saying? So I would hope that they ripped the Band-Aid off and showed like whatever they had that was the most intense of content, right? But this guy is basically saying like all of this seemed pretty tame. That's very interesting, right? Very, very interesting. But you never know. They literally could just have seen video of no hibbity-dibbity and literally just people getting their bodies rubbed with baby oil. And if that's the case, wow, that would be insane. Insane.
You see, she testified for several days, very emotional at times.
It was, yeah.
What did you think of her credibility?
Hold on, I'm rolling that back.
Did you be emotional at times?
Sensual.
Really?
Yeah.
How about with Jane? Obviously, she testified for several days, very emotional at times.
It was, yeah.
What did you think of her credibility? Did you believe her?
Yeah, Jane Doe, what's up?
It was very again, riveting, long testimony. And I did believe her, at least on some parts. Some parts were a little bit didn't add up as much. Seemed a little strange.
What part seemed strange to you?
One part for me that seemed a little strange was the night, I think, when Jane was in, when they had the fight. Yeah. It just, the timing seemed a little like you're going from like one closet to another closet to it just, something didn't add up there.
So when they got into that fight, after Cassie filed that lawsuit, and of course after his homes were raided and all that, right? Tensions are high. He's very stressed. He's very frustrated, etc. She clearly knows about all this stuff. They get into a fight. He allegedly breaks down doors trying to get to her, right? She runs out of the house, hides off for 2 hours, right? But the other thing is too, it didn't make any sense that she changed dresses instead of like changing into sweats or something like that. I'm going to be real. If I am about to get into fisticuffs or have some issues with somebody and I was a woman, respectfully, I'm not changing into another dress, okay, and keeping my high heels on. I am changing into something a little bit more tactical, a little bit more practical that I can move around and protect myself, right? Just in case if I do have to run outside, I'm not in a dress. I feel like that's one of the only, like I've already said, I've been side-eyeing her testimony like a mug, but that's one thing for sure. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But there's still footage of her doors being, there's photos, etc., of her doors being knocked off, all that stuff, right? There's still footage of the black eye and the knot on her head. Those things still do exist, right? So again, the question would remain, why would she lie, right? Why would she commit perjury in a federal trial? Why? Especially when she's on his payroll. She is still on his payroll, y'all. So I don't think that she's lying. I don't. I just don't think she was thinking, and I think she was also drunk. Okay? I'm just saying, okay? There's just elements to that are weird. But again, the defense was able to pick that apart, right? And poke holes in her story as well. Once again, they did a good job with that kind of stuff. Real talk.
How about the impact when you heard that her rent was being paid or her lawyer is being paid by the defendant? Did that surprise you?
That was surprising, yeah, and it was still being paid.
What did you think when you heard that?
Wow, it was surprising.
I want to ask you as well about, I mean, obviously I'm talking about Diddy as if I know him. Like, we know his name because he's, this very famous person.
We have become Diddy's best friend. The whole world that has been covering this thing, we have all become his best friend. We all know now how he likes to butter his bread. Okay, what side he likes to butter his bread on. We all know about his favorite foods. Okay, we all know what he does when he's feeling a little, saucy, feeling a little zesty. We all know about all this stuff now. Okay, it's a wrap. So yeah, we know Diddy very well, right?
Did the fact that he was so famous, did that impact you in any way? Did you know him?
No, I did not know him.
Do you know his music at all?
No, I don't. I didn't really listen to his music.
So seeing him was just a stranger.
Pretty much. I mean, I know of him, and I know, but I don't really follow his music or the rap industry in general. So that might have been why. I think a lot of the jurors, I think if you look at their backgrounds, I don't think they were, they didn't follow this or that. I mean, that's probably why they were chosen. I was never expected to be chosen, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't even looking for this at all.
Who would be, right?
Exactly.
But let me ask you, the other jurors, when you would talk to them, I know you weren't allowed to deliberate at all in this, but when you talked to them, were they familiar with who he was? Did his celebrity status seem to impact them at all?
No, I don't think so. No, I think everyone was really waiting for the interpretation of the law. And
is that because you were confused about the case, or because you just wanted to know your marching orders?
I think we wanted to know our marching orders and how we need to look at everything. I think we were really, I think, at least for me, we want to be, and we are asked to be as impartial as possible. So we needed to know, you hear both sides of, one side, the other side. And it's very important to know what we're actually supposed to be, ruling at, and how we're supposed to be looking at it from the judge.
And I think that's I'm glad that he explained that. And I'm glad that they were able to add that into, of course, that's standard procedure for every single trial. I'm glad that they were able to go through everything precisely and explain everything to the jury, because there was so much stuff being said. There was so much baby oil and Astroglide flying left and right in that courtroom. I'm surprised nobody slipped up. Real talk, okay? I'm surprised no one got caught up in all of that, right? And again, I will say this too. Even though I said my prediction is verdict will come on Wednesday, and I was right, You're welcome. Aside from that, I honestly was thinking that it would take a little bit longer. In my mind, I was like, I'm thinking Wednesday, but I feel like it could take a little bit longer because of all the mucky muck that was being flung left and right. Okay, there was all kinds of dung being thrown left and right. There was so much murky crap that the jury had to filter through to get to the meat and potatoes that I'm just like, man, I'm surprised they didn't take more time. That's all I'm saying. I'm surprised it didn't take longer. And maybe this verdict was rushed because they just wanted to get out and enjoy their 4th of July weekend. Again, it's a long weekend. That was a long weekend that they could have had, or that they had, right? And that they could have sat through and had to think about this even more with people, right? And even more as they came back. Everybody wanted to get the hell out of there, right? So again, very interesting stuff. Let's continue.
What we're actually supposed to be, ruling at, and how we're supposed to be looking at it from the judge. There was a juror who was excused close to the end of the trial. What did you know about that, and why? We weren't told, what happened. I mean, I think someone had mentioned that it was, I think he lied about where he was from or something like that. But really, we were kind of kept in like isolation from the whole day. Not really told much, told to not, follow any news or turn off everything. Don't talk to anyone. Don't talk among yourselves about the case, which we followed. We really followed the judge's instructions. At least I did too. So when that person, when that person was no longer in the chair after seeing them there for 7 weeks on end, or how many weeks it was in at that point, did you think it was odd? Did you have concerns? No. I mean, that's why they have, they call 18 people, because then they knew it was a long case. And there's probably going to be someone's going to get sick or someone's going to drop out. So that's why. So would you have wanted to hear Diddy testify? Would it have made a difference to you?
Good question.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
It wouldn't have made a difference because it would have added to your understanding, or because you'd heard enough?
I think we heard enough. I don't think I don't know if it would have helped or hindered. I haven't really thought about that as much.
Yeah.
But I think it was really helpful, again, in the end, at least for what we were looking forward to, what I was looking forward to the most, was just the 61-page judge instructions of how we're supposed to be charged the law.
They did find him guilty of those transportation to engage in prostitution charges. The prosecution was being very sarcastic and laughing at the idea that these men were just being paid for their time. How did you see that statement?
You mean the defense?
Mm-hmm. Well, the prosecution said that, well, yes, you're right. The defense said that they were being paid for the time. The prosecution was mocking that. Who did you believe?
No, I think the evidence to show that there was the transportation or prostitution, I think was overwhelming, and that's why the jury found him guilty on those two counts.
If you had been,
because the prosecution, not only they showed the hotel records, the bank records, the flight information. For that, I think that they proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
If for some reason you were to ever talk to Diddy, what would you tell him about how you saw this trial?
To be honest, I really wouldn't want to talk to him or anyone associated with that. I just wanted to kind of tell my side of the story, but I really wouldn't want to associate with him or any of the people that are with him.
Interesting. Ain't that interesting? He's like, I really don't want to. No, I'm good. No, I don't want. No, I have no interest in talking to him. I have no interest in hanging out with him. Trust me, I'm not trying to go and break bread with him and become his best friend. No. So, even after everything, even after he has been exonerated for, not exonerated, but not fully exonerated, but he was acquitted on majority of the big charges. Even this guy, who's an alternate juror, is like, no, I'm good. No, he didn't do that, but he's still a monster, yo. So I'm good. No, we good, man. We good. I'm going to be over here. He can be way over there and keep the baby oil and the Astroglide to your damn self. Thank you very much. Right?
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
And it's about the video from the Intercontinental Hotel that you saw a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta cover this because this is not good.
Was it? Did you see it?
Sometimes they did it like frame by frame by frame.
What did you think of that? Did you see it enough? Too much? Too little? What?
I mean, it was a very bad video. I think they showed it enough. I mean, they tried to show it both sides, and
did it make a difference to you in the actual charges that you would have had to deliberate over? Because he wasn't charged with.
He wasn't charged with domestic violence. No.
Did that surprise you?
No, because I don't think domestic violence is a federal crime. So
did it cloud the way you saw the rest of the charges by seeing that video?
No, I think we looked at just what we were supposed to be, what the judge had said we were supposed to look at, and then based off of the evidence that was presented to us, they ruled in that way.
Now, what's interesting about that too is that he says, yeah, the video's terrible, but it didn't cloud my judgment. I looked at the evidence. I looked at what was being said and what was given to us. We weren't there for DV. We were not there for the DV charge. We were here for the other charges that he was looking at. So we looked at all that with an unbiased view, right? Unbiased perspective. That is something interesting. But nonetheless, yeah, like I said, there's so much that the defense did, but that's their job, right? Nicole B just said, hey, they confused the jury. Yeah, that's their job. That's exactly what the defense was there for, to bring in reasonable doubt and confuse the F out of that jury. And they did that. That's one thing that they did very well. Like I said to you guys before, throughout the entire trial, I said that they were going to play in the sea of gray. Prosecution's going to lean on the black and white, right? The facts. And then the defense is going to go in and go, well, is that really the facts? Well, when you say that is a fact, do you really mean that it's really a fact? How do you feel about those facts? You see what I'm saying? They played with the gray. They made a sandbox. They made a playground out of that gray. And that's what they got to win this trial. Real talk. They confused, I'm sure, some of the jury. But I also truly believe that there's some people who were walking in, some jurors that walked in that already had a verdict in their own minds. I do truly think that. Here's the other thing, too. I want to say this, too. And let me just blow my face up here really quick. I'd love to hear from a female juror. Yeah. I would love to hear from a female juror on what got them to come to their unanimous decision on him being not guilty on these major charges and being guilty on just the small charge. That's something I'd love to hear. And maybe a female juror will step forward, right? Because again, majority of the room was men. And men and women have different perspectives on things. Let's be real. Definitely different perspective, especially when it comes to the hibbity dibbity, especially when it comes to the sideways samba. Definitely two different perspectives, for sure. And I think some of that had something to do with this whole thing too, had some of that to play. Gender, sex, etc. may had a hand in this situation as well. Just saying. But like I said, would love to hear a woman, a female juror speak on their perspective on what got them to come to the conclusion that he was found not guilty on these big charges, but only found guilty on the pros. That's just something I'm very curious about as well.
Do you think he should go to prison?
That's for the judge to decide. I mean, he was found guilty on both counts. So the sentencing is not up to us. Mm-hmm. It's not up to me. It's up to the judge, who was we were all impressed with the judge and how he was. So that's the jury. I can't speak for the jury because I was an alternate, mm-hmm. but I think we all really much liked the judge on this case. We found him to be very fair, very stern. He was no nonsense, but the way he conducted himself, at least from what we saw, because again, we only saw the beginning and they always had, when they had sidebars, they would have the white noise, so mm-hmm. couldn't actually hear what's being discussed. But we were always impressed with the judge.
Hundreds of pages of notes, weeks of trial. Thank you for telling us what you were thinking.
Now, I'm going to tell you this too. That dude's going to have a book coming out. Watch. Because he has hundreds of notes, right? So I am kind of curious about that. Yes, True Blue, there was 8 men in that room. 8 male jurors and then 4 female jurors. And that's it. So it does make you wonder, and I'm not trying to throw in making it be like, oh, that's the reason why he got off. It's because it was the men. No, I'm just saying when it comes to verdicts, especially when it comes to in the actual nature, okay, when it comes to SA, when it comes to DV, especially when it's between a man and a woman, things can get a little bit jostled up because, females have their perspective on certain things. Men have their perspective on things, respectfully, okay? So it may have had a majority reaction in the deliberation room, right? Especially when you have 8 men and 4 women. Or they could have all said, hey, we saw the footage, we saw the information, we saw the text messages, we saw everything, and we agree. Yeah, this whole thing was consensual. Be done with it, right? But they were in there for a few days. It wasn't just a situation where they said, hey, yeah, we need more time, right? They didn't say that. So something definitely went down in that room. And it may have been a unanimous decision, like, yeah, we agree. But remember, there was a juror number 25, that apparently was giving them problems in the very beginning. What were the problems? That's one thing I'd like to know. I wish I knew that. Like I said, I'm just curious about that, right? Remember the Menendez brothers, right? They had a trial, and one of those trials that they had, they were found guilty because there were men in the jury that did not believe of SA on men. I'm not kidding. During that time, I mean, it's the 80s. It was a little, there were people who didn't believe that boys would get SA'd, right? And they literally were saying that in the trial during the jury deliberation, that they believe that it's not possible for these boys to be SA'd. It's not possible for males to get SA'd. Not possible at all. Only to find out that, it's most definitely possible and it's most definitely true, right? And of course, I'm talking about the Menendez brothers and that trial, but I'm just saying the way that certain men can think and certain women can think can definitely throw off a jury, especially when it comes to deliberation. So again, we'll see what's going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be more jurors that are going to be speaking out at some point. Okay. But one did speak out before, and they were basically saying, like, y'all got it all wrong. Y'all got it twisted. Our deliberation and our verdict was true. And it's disrespectful for anyone to sit there and try to think that we were paid off. Right. So again, I think this is going to be something that people are going to be talking about for a while, for sure. And there's a lot of people that feel some type of way with this. Okay. And I don't blame everybody feeling some type of way. I get that people are still out in the streets lathering themselves in baby oil as if this is the second coming of Christ. And then, I understand the other side where people are very upset and feel like this is a travesty for the judicial system. I get it. This is a very polarizing thing for sure. So we'll see, right? Yeah. And I do agree. You got to respect what the jury decided. Okay. You got to respect the jury. They went in there, they deliberated for days, and they came out with that verdict. They found him not guilty on those big charges. I will say again, I thought the Cassie STing of Cassie was a definite. I thought that was a low ball, like a ground ball. I thought that was going to be easy. And it definitely, they didn't give it to him. It is what it is, right? So now it depends on what it's going to look like for sentencing. Is the judge going to remember everything that was said in this trial, feel some type of way, and sentence this man to 20 years in prison? Or is he going to be super lenient on the guy and only give him a couple years? That still remains to be seen, guys. That definitely still remains to be seen. But continuing on, we got a lot still to talk about. So hold on, stick around. We got a lot to talk about. We still got some Diddy conversation to talk about as well. So stick around. So Tamara, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. And you did 2 super chats, so I'm going to get to both of them really quick. They should have used an AI jury in this case and Trayvon Martin's case. Okay, there is not a decent human common sense. There is not decent human common sense with those verdicts. Again, I hear you on that. I feel you on that. But I will say the defense was able to present reasonable doubt. And also, it's also on top of what prosecution was able to present. And there were moments, there were parts, big parts, that were weak from prosecution. We've talked about it on the show. I've called it out as well. Okay. Again, it's, but I feel you on feeling like the common sense is just gone out the window, right? Let's continue going. Tamara, thank you so much. They need to add a question about Diddy's verdict to dating apps. Oh my God. Diddy is a good dude. Swipe left, right? That's actually good point. Good point. Do you think he's innocent or guilty? And if you say innocent, then, you only get a certain amount of people that want to rock with you or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, that could definitely be. Like I said, there are guys in the manosphere. Okay. We tap in on that conversation every once in a while, the topic of manosphere. But there are men in the manosphere, or people who represent the manosphere, that are rejoicing on this verdict, because they truly think that this was that these girls were freaks and they were willing participants to do all this stuff. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people that believe that Diddy is completely 110% unequivocally innocent on all charges. Again, he paid for pros, so he can't dodge that. He definitely could not dodge that, right? But the other stuff, like I said, they did a very not so great job of really sending the RICO charge home. They just didn't. It's unfortunate when it comes to that verdict, right? Libra King, thank you so much for the love. You know how many pleasant texts I've sent with a frown or scowl on my face, laughing emoji. You know what? Yeah, I feel you on that. You know what I mean? It's like, can't wait. You know what I mean? Can't wait to see that recital. Woo. You know what I mean? You're like, man, I don't want to go to that ish. Dang, right? Or I don't want to go to that dinner or that meeting. I don't want to go, but you're still sending out that text being like, yep, thumbs up, LOL, when you're going, oh, dreading my life. You see what I'm saying? FML, right? So I get it. Definitely. But this all has to do with freak-offs and doing the Alabama slammer for mother-loving days on end, right? Sores and soreness. Not only just sores, but soreness all over your body and in your mouth. I don't know about all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, woo, that's tough. I'm just saying that's very tough. All right. I don't know how anyone can sit there and go, can't wait. You know what I mean? When you can barely even talk, barely even swallow water. You're literally soaking yourself in ice baths or Epsom salt baths. I mean, that's some crazy stuff, y'all. I'm not sitting there going, can't wait to ask some day. Like, I just don't see how anyone can send a text and actually physically hit send to that after what they endured the night before already, right? It's crazy. True Blue, you're right. This is his first offense, but is it though? Remember, it's up to the judge. The judge might go, hey, I understand that this is your first offense, but we've seen the video. Like, everyone's like, yeah, it's nonviolent offense. It's his first nonviolent offense, but he's caught on film putting his paws on Cassie. Let's not forget that. You never know. He might sit there. The judge might go, I can't let him walk in less than 5 years because of what he's been caught on film doing. He definitely extorted people. That's for sure. He definitely bribed people as well. Like I said, there's so much that was just completely washed over. And I blame that on the prosecution. I think they leaned on the salaciousness too much and not leaned on the facts. I think they were too busy trying to show everybody the hibbity-dibbity, okay, the Alabama slammer, baby oil and Astroglide, that they forgot about the pew-pews, the extortion, the bribery, and all the other stuff that he was doing and what they were trying to charge him with, okay? And I think also, too, yes, Ariel, I think that they were leaning way too hard on the DV when the DV wasn't even part of the damn case. But I will, or part of the damn trial. But I will say, though, the smoking gun evidence. And I don't think that the judge is going to look at that and turn a blind eye to that situation. You got to remember, this is somebody who's been doing this in plain sight for years, decades even. So I don't see the judge just going, I'll just give you a year. Oh, in fact, it'll only be a few months because of time spent. So you're free to go. I just don't see it. I really think he's going to be like, listen, due to everything that's been presented, you do have a history of violence, hence the reason why he got denied bail. It's because he's violent, right? And even so, in interviews, even his team has said he's a hothead. He's hot on every single thing. There is no chill in this man, right? I feel like this judge is not just going to sit there and go, you can go. You can go. Go ahead. You're free to go. No, I think that there's going to be pieces of information in there that are going to hold, he's going to hold tight to. But we'll see what happens. Okay? We'll see what happens. Yes, RLS, he has been denied bail for mother-loving times. Okay? So I really don't think that this is going to be something where the judge is going to be like, well, we already know that you're a violent guy. We're just going to let you go. No, I think it's going to be like, you've been a violent guy. You've gotten away with a lot of things by the skin of your teeth. Real talk, you need to repent and spend some time in prison. And again, I'm not thinking he's going to be like, I'm just going to throw the book at you and you're going to get 20 years. Hell no. But I really do think that he's going to get at least 5 for sure. He ain't going to walk. Okay. He ain't going to walk. He ain't. But prosecution did do some good. Not all. Okay. The 6-pack of white women dropped the ball in certain areas. Most definitely they did. Okay. But like I said, they should really focus on the things that were racketeering big time. But they brought in a lot of salaciousness, a lot of flashing lights, okay, and a lot of clutch your pearl moments, which, yeah, make for great content on YouTube. But at the same time, in that courtroom, is it evidence that is ironclad that's definitely going to lock this dude in the slammer for the rest of his days? That's the thing that I feel like they fell short on. Real talk. I truly think that, you know? But we'll see. Yeah, big time. You hoping the judge going to sentence him for pros only? I hope that he gets what's coming to him that is rightfully deserved. If he gets 20 years, I'll be shocked. But in my mind, I'm like, shoot, if he gets 20 years from the judge definitely felt some type of way. That's it. If that's what the judge wants to give him, so be it. Okay? I'm not looking at this guy and saying, oh, he's the greatest man in the world. Hell no. The prosecution did a great job in destroying this man's character. Okay? Those testimonies were bad. The video itself is bad. Okay? And all the other people that have stepped forward and have been speaking out on all their experiences with this dude, all of it has been bad. Okay? So again, you know, it's for me though, if the judge decides to give him 20, it'll be shocking, but so be it. I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see what happens with the judge and what he does. He may lean only on the pros and just be like, okay, since this is a smaller offense, I'm only going to give you 5. Cool. That's going to happen. We'll see what happens, right? I can't really say much on that, you know? What the judge ends up doing is what he ends up doing. Will I agree with it? We'll find out. It all depends on what, you know, if he walks or not, right? Or, you know, that it depends on if he gets a lesser charge or not. But let me get this, the art of dialogue real quick. Because apparently Gene Deal had some things to say. Okay. Dang, they just dropped another video. Hold on. With Gene Deal. But 1 second. I'm trying to find it. Hold on, guys. Now, Big Migs, if you're still in the chat, are you talking about the one? Are you talking about the one where he's going off on Diddy's son for celebrating, or are you talking about the one that was put up like? Hold on, I'm looking here. That's crazy. Hold on. I'm going to play this one. Let's see what happens. And also I'm going to, okay, the speed is up here. Let's take a look at this. This is Gene Deal, everybody.
Celebrating the verdict. I want to get your opinion on it.
Everybody watching. Like a million and shit sweet. Switching it up. I pick you up like this trick in my cup. I'm so fast, she toss it and get drunk. She throw it back on me, dropping my blunt. I get paid and stuff. Pull up, fuck the whip in the front.
Now, what's crazy, I gotta skip through this because it's his music and everything. But what's interesting is that he's, you know, that they're celebrating. And again, let me just be real. I'm not surprised about them celebrating. Okay, I'm really not surprised about them celebrating. But I think it's kind of tacky, in my personal opinion, that he's trying to promote one of his songs, right? My dad's free. Listen to my new single. You know what I mean? Man, you know?
Man, why you have me look at that bullshit? Taking off his shirt, doing push-ups, all out, jumping around. Come on, man. That's some clown shit. King clown. That's some real clown shit. Man, listen to me, man. Let me just tell you something, bro. And this is real talk. He's still going to jail. You happy because he didn't get the RICO and the racketeering. So he gets to keep his money. He gets to keep his inheritance.
Yep.
He gets to keep all the...
He is not wrong with that. He's like, oh, I'm rich, bitch. You know what I mean? He's like, I still got the money. We still got the money. We still got that generational wealth, baby. Yeah. We didn't lose none of that money. We didn't lose any of that money. We didn't lose any of that money, right? That's literally what's going on, right? And yeah, of course, his dad's free. Or no, not free, but you know what I mean? He's going to be free soon. You feel me?
That they stole over the years from other people. That's why he happy. Him and Puff wasn't that tight. They used to go at it. People close by would tell that story. Yeah, that's still his father. But you and I both know that extra shit right out there, come on, man. Outside the court, the judge might give him extra time for this and his antics. Puff not coming home, bro. And you got to realize at 50-something years old, he'll come out to get his Social Security or better. How old is he? Born in 69?
59, I think, right?
We're like 54, 55, something like that.
I think it was like 58.
He'll come out and get his Social Security. He had to do 85% of his time. That right there, King Kong or Christian, acting like that in front of the courts, in front of everybody, they be taking these judges back information. The officers, they got people around there looking at that. There were victims in this case, bruh. And I know you happy for your father and everything like that, but do that shit at home in the privacy of your house. You still got a judge that's got to make a decision.
He ain't wrong. You know, again, like I said, I get his son celebrating. I get it. But I think there's a time and place for everything. Okay. Real talk. There's a time and place for everything. That was definitely not the time or the place, but he did that. It's done. What he did is what he did. The other thing is Gene Deal ain't wrong with this too. Okay. Gene, you know, like, Diddy going to jail still. He's going to prison. He's going to get locked up for a little while. Okay. Maybe not for a whole long time. All right. But he's going to be there for a little bit. Okay. Yeah. You know, let's continue.
I heard about the mixtape, bro. I heard some of the lyrics is on there. But when do you grow up, man, and be who you really are? Because you ain't no gangster. You don't know what a gangster is. You a prankster. You a prankster, son. Stop that. I think when the people heard the mixtape and they called him out on it, and they was checking him and they was trying to check him, but they lost, bruh. They don't have no guidance. The dude who's supposed to be doing, I don't know if he's security or whatever like that, man, what the fuck is you doing out here like this? He gets on the ground and start doing push-ups up with him. Bruh, for real? Man, put your shirt on and get your ass back in that damn car. Stop acting like you stupid. Act like you got some sense. That's when they making the dollar make them, bruh. The dollar is making them. What you happy about?
Yikes.
You got to realize they know his daddy's still going to jail. They happy because they feel like the government doesn't have a right to mess with nobody's assets at this time. The verdict on the RICO, non and void. Nothing. Racketeering, nothing. And I guess it was some kind of, what was the other charge? Sex or something like that? Not sex.
Yeah.
They got the sex charges, But the RICO, the racketeering, and the kidnapping, coercion, kidnapping, all this like that, all that was non-void. It went nowhere. It went nowhere. But you still partying? Your dad about to do some time. So he ain't getting life. Maybe he was around there dancing because Diddy ain't getting life. But you don't never know what time it is when you go to jail because it could be your life.
He ain't wrong with that, y'all. He ain't wrong with what he just said there, okay? He's not wrong with what he just said there. I mean, just because he's going into prison for just, a few years doesn't mean that it could be the last time he ever sees freedom. Okay, look at what happened to Tory Lanez. Okay, I mean, he's still alive, but he got attacked pretty terribly in prison. Okay, so again, this it's crazy. I recommend you guys go check out the rest of the video or the dialogue. Okay, but yeah, I mean, he's not saying anything off with what he's saying here, and I get it. Gene Dion Pachour is pissed off that about the verdict. I'm sure he's pissed. I'm sure he's pissed. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. But I'm not surprised about his reaction. Right. But so we'll see. We'll see what goes down with that. Real talk. Only time will tell with all that. Right. Big Migs, what's up, man? Thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. Gene Deal's reaction to the verdict is where he speaks all the facts. Let's see. Let me see. Reaction to the verdict. Are you talking about where he's going off on people celebrating in the streets? I'll play a little bit of this. Why not? Let's see. Let's see a little
My
bit.
guy, Gene Deal, man. You already know why we here. The verdict that came in. How you feeling about it, man?
Yo,
Yeah,
my
this
man,
is a
listen
long
here.
one.
I really don't have no feelings behind it, but this is mad funny to me, bro, because we've been talking about this for so long. And like today, I was getting all kind of prank calls. People was calling my phone talking about, Diddy didn't do it, Diddy didn't do it, Diddy didn't do it, and hang up. I was like, yeah. Then I had Unique Mecca Audio call me talking about, no, Rico must go. Rico gotta go. Rico, I was like, man, he's motherfuckers crazy. And you got people out of here celebrating, man. Yo, check it out. They are celebrating, but he's still going to jail. You understand? They celebrate, I was thinking about some stuff. I said, they celebrating for a psychotic, narcissist, a sociopath sex offender, abusing and degrading women, beating on them, brother, and having them appease him and his homosexual tendencies by letting random men, male prostitutes, brother, ejaculate their sexual juices on them so he can lick them off.
He just said that. Like I said, vanilla milkshakes spilled. Okay. And then he's drinking that milkshake. Yeah. It's crazy. Lapping it up. Swallowed. It's a tough one. Is
this what's happening in the fucking hood now? Is that what's good in the hood? Tell me, is that what's happening in the streets, brother? Is that what the industry that came down to now? They celebrating him. This is what this man is. I talked about his character, bro. In court, we heard stuff that came up that none of us know. They out here celebrating. Yo, they talk about, what Gene gonna do now? How Gene feel now? Gene good in the hood. I can go open up my refrigerator anytime I want to. Gene good in the hood. Yo, these people they don't want you ain't lived my life, bro. You ain't been through the stuff I've been through, seen the things I saw. What you eat don't make me And they wonder about how Gene gonna feel. I'm good. Yo, bro, let me just say something to you, man. No, I don't like this. I don't with this. I said this 1,000 times. In the infamous words of Brutus, for all you smart motherfuckers, when he went to the Senate and said what he said about Caesar. I'm gonna say the same shit about Diddy, but in my way. I'm not here to praise this nigga. I'd rather see him buried. And y'all can say and feel however you want to. Because that's the way he felt about people we all used to be around and love. Y'all can't feel what I feel. Y'all don't see what I see. But it's good. The judge showed us today. They talking about some bail hearing. They talk about, yo, we gonna, because he had 2 charges. I don't understand that people sitting there talking about, he gonna get probation. No, dummy.
I agree. It's so crazy how many people are like, yeah, he gonna walk. Watch my brother walk, man. Yeah. Yeah. He gonna walk, mother lovers. Sensing. Judge is gonna open up the door and go, you free. Go ahead and run amongst the wild. Go ahead. Go on, man. Like you're a free-range chicken. Okay? No, it's not gonna happen. It's not. But everybody, like I said, can sit here and fantasize whatever they want in their head. The dude is still going to get locked up. Okay? He gonna be slurping up other inmates' spilled vanilla milkshakes. That's what he gonna do. He gonna be doing that for a little while before he gets out. That's it. Okay? He 56. Yeah, he'll be in 60 at least. Okay? When he gets back out. But he's gonna be locked up for a little while, y'all. And it is insane to me that people are rejoicing to this. This is a situation, like, don't get me wrong, the people who think that he did no wrong, which is insane to me that they think that he did no wrong. I get rejoicing. I get a little bit of like that, a humble celebration, like, yes, okay, yeah, he's free. Or, yeah, he didn't get caught with the other things. That's fine. But it's the stuff that's out in the streets that is just insane to me. Okay, lathering themselves in baby oil, rejoicing over the fact that this particular person who is doing these terrible things to these women, you can't forget that he did some really bad things to these women. Now, I know the argument now is going to be, well, Pascal, those women allowed him to do it. Well, yeah, you're right. But also at the same time that there was no respect for these women whatsoever. Let's be real. Throw out the STing, the pros, the racketeering, the DV, throw all those things out the window. The fact that he had no respect for these women at all and continue to do those things is insane to me, right? That he allowed that kind of behavior, that because he pushed the envelope and they said, sure, he just continued. And he continued to push that envelope, right? He continued to push boundaries to the point where it turned into, oh, well, we can't just do regular sideways samba. We can't do that lovemaking anymore. We're not making love no more. We're doing freak offs all day. You know what I'm saying? Because now the Band-Aid has been ripped off. The floodgates have opened, right? But those things would never have been introduced to those women if he wasn't pushing that envelope, right? Come on now. It's crazy. But let me play a little bit more.
There's a mandatory federal guidelines that the judge has to go by. If he don't go by those federal guidelines and the prosecution don't agree with it, they can appeal what the judge ruling is. So what they're going to have to do, he's going to have to sit there for at least 6 weeks. And they're going to do what they call a pre-sentence report. Mm-hmm. In that pre-sentence report, it's going to have certain guidelines that the judge is going to look at. The judge know the case. The judge know all what was thrown out. Judge know all what was contested and everything like that. The judge know the case better than anybody. Do you understand me, Mighty? So the judge is the one who's going to decide. Just like today, can we get a bail? His mama going in there and she signed for $1 million bail and all that. You think he's getting bail? And then the judge read some papers. This is how dumb people is. Why you think Cassie's lawyer was there the last couple of days? They already knew this was going to happen. What did I say?
Potentially. They knew that this could be the potential situation where he would get a lesser charge. So yeah, they're going to be right there. You know what I mean? Let's be real. Yeah, that's the other thing too, Holly. I'm kind of curious about that as well. Why didn't Gene Deal testify, right? Not testing, but I get what you're saying. Testify. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that too, baby. I'm curious about that too. Don't know. There are so many people that could have testified, okay? You got Natanya Rubin. You got Gene Deal. You got KK. You got D-Rock. You got DeWitt Gilmore. All of those people could have stepped forward and been testified, subpoenaed to testify, and none of them were. Why? All of them witnessed something. All of them went through something, and that's just the tip, okay? Yes, pun intended, high key, low key, okay? Could have easily done testifying. This could have easily been 50 people on the docket for prosecution, and they didn't. They didn't use those people. Why? Here's the other thing. Let me let him finish. Let me let him finish, because there is another theory that's out here that I need to play for you guys. And yes, it has to do with Candace Owens. Oh my God. Okay. But we got to talk about it. Okay. It has to do with Candace Owens and her opinions about this trial as well. We got to look at this. Okay. Just really quick. Let's hear what Gene Deal has to say. But this is something that people are running with too. They're like, wait a second. Could it be what she said? Could it be what she said about this? Remember, with Candace Owens, I still feel like a broken clock can be right 2 times a day. Okay. Yeah. So we're just going to stay with that for now. Okay. Yeah. Cause we're going into, we're off-roading in the show right now. Okay. So, put on your galoshes. It's about to get really messy out here. Okay. Let's continue on.
Say, Mighty, I said that if it goes before January the 4th, it ain't gonna look good for the prosecutor. Didn't I say that? I said that means that they probably just get them on the sexual charges. But if it goes past the 4th, that means they really want to do their job and get us a lot of time. Because they knew they had proved the sexual with the prostitutes, you know, paying them to come and have sex with the girls and everything like that. But we found out a lot of things about this dude in this trial, bro. A lot none of us even knew. But they celebrating this. This dude is psychotic. I don't care what you say, bro. You look at some of the stuff that he did, and like I say, that's what's good in the hood now. That's how y'all getting down now. Licking another man's sperm off his girl.
Okay, good God. Oh, God. Me dead. Okay. Nasty. All right. And no one should be embracing and applauding that kind of behavior. Now, here's the thing, though. Hold on. What I mean by applauding that kind of behavior when it's done allegedly against somebody's will. Okay. If you're doing that behind closed doors, if you like to slurp up vanilla milkshakes on your free time and that's legal and it's consensual, do you, boo-boo? I don't even, ew, damn that. I don't even want to applaud that because I think that's nasty. Okay? Nut juice on chesticles is nasty. But at the same time, hey, if that floats your boat, then that floats your boat. If you like getting swallowed up, okay, or you like to swallow up, that is on your business. As long as it's legal and as long it is consensual, do you, boo-boo, okay? But in this particular situation, all that's being alleged was at moments against these women's will, against their wishes, and was not consensual, okay? So let me just be real. When it's consensual, I don't want to know, okay? Okay? I don't want to know, but it was thrown there in court. You can't miss that stuff, all right? Just sitting there slurping up milkshakes. That's nasty, okay? But the disturbing part, not only that he liked that stuff, is that he was paying dudes also without protection to just skadoosh, okay? All over women, all over his women, okay? For him to go and lap it up. That is... Y'all looking at vanilla milkshakes a completely different way now, okay? Like I said, it's a whole other experience now. Yeah. Yes. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. Right? So again, nasty. But what's more disturbing about that is that this was done against people's consent. This was done without people's consent. That is the problem. Then also at the same time, given the fact that it's not only just against these women's consent, it's also dudes who are getting paid to spillage. Okay? That's wrong, y'all. Okay? That's wrong. So again, very disturbing stuff. I recommend you guys go check out the full interview. I've never seen this. I've never seen this interview, so I'm going to be taking a look at this in more of its entirety here in a little bit. Okay. Again, I am kind of curious about that. But real quick, we're hopping around a little bit. This still has to do with Diddy and all that, for real. Okay. I still want to give you guys an update on the actual flood that's going on in Texas. We're going to be talking about that here shortly. But there is a few things that I want to talk to you about or share with you guys. Inner City Press. This is before they went into the courtroom to find out what was going on. Now, for those of y'all who are just getting here, maybe you guys are just late to the party. Just to give you guys a heads up, Diddy's sentencing is still scheduled, will remain scheduled for October 3rd. So this gives prosecution and defense enough time to send in their paperwork, their documents, etc., before the date of his sentencing. Okay, and again, whatever is being sent from prosecution and defense over the next couple months, over the next couple weeks, is crucial. Okay, because these could be defining factors on how long Diddy's going to be locked up for. Remember that. Okay. That's a big, huge factor we have to put into consideration here for sure. Okay. So October 3rd. Yes, Monica. Yes, Monica. October 3rd is when Diddy is going to be back in a courtroom, finding out how long he going to be locked up. Okay. That could be a week. That could be 20 years. You never know. We're going to find out on October 3rd. But this is Inner City Press. He said a few things on his way into the situation, and we got to talk about that. Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, it's Tuesday, July 8th. Now, on the U.S. vs. Sean Diddy Combs, after his 2 convictions but 3 not guilties, today at 2 p.m., there is a hearing on expediting his sentencing. His bail was denied, but the judge seems committed to move his sentencing up from October 3rd. And I'm assuming that Mark Agnifilo and his other lawyers will be asking for time served when the time comes. Now, meanwhile, so we'll be doing that at 2. Instead of it being by phone, which it could have been, since it's virtual for the lawyers, it'll be in the courthouse. But so will we be. There it is right there, the courthouse. But there's been a development. Early in the trial, in the first week, in fact, before the trial's testimony and even opening statements began, during jury selection, we noticed that one of the prospective jurors said he worked at the the UN Office of Counterterrorism. And then he was asked, does that mean you work in any way with U.S. law enforcement? And he said, no. Now, I used to cover the United Nations. In fact, I still do. I write scoops daily about it. But I report on it pretty aggressively. Anyway, I know that office, and they do work with U.S. law enforcement. So it just sort of stuck in my craw that why would this juror be misrepresenting? And on a second day, they asked him more about it because it wasn't credible. He said, no, we work only with Interpol and something about the Dushanbe process. Okay, didn't think more about him because he's just an alternate. And he knew he was an alternate. Only one alternate actually made the transition to being on the jury. That was alternate 1, who took the place of juror number 6, who was ousted for misrepresenting, according to the judge, where he lived and the credibility issues raised thereby. Now, alternate 6 went on CNN right after the verdict, and he said he inflated his importance by saying, no one told us who were the jurors or who were the alternates. That's totally false. He was there.
Whoa, wait a second. Hold on.
Went on CNN right after the verdict, and he said he inflated his importance by saying, no one told us who were the jurors or who were the alternates. That's totally false. He was there. I was there. Anyone that covered the trial heard them say, you are alternate 6. Fine. Then he said that the videos that no one saw except the jurors and alternates at the time He said, they were riveting, but also kind of tame. Now, the question was put to him, he said, the prosecution showed videos of Cassie just sitting around. The interviewer then said, you mean the defense? He said, oh, yeah, the defense. So then he went out of his way to mention 350 pages of notes, which, to me, call me a cynic, I believe alternate 6, misrepresented to get on the jury, as we reported at the time. And as soon as it was over, somehow was contacted CNN to mention his copious notes, possibly to sell a book. I mean, who am I to say? Who am I to say, except to say it's extraordinary to me that this UN. Anyway, we'll have more on this. We've written a story. You can find it. And I think by going on CNN, all bets are out the window. Honestly, it's and the whole secrecy of the trial had a lot of problems. But this is a new low. This is a new low, frankly. Now, what else?
Hold on. We got to process this. So the guy that we saw on CNN, okay? The guy that we saw on CNN who did the interview allegedly, one, they're saying that he misrepresented himself. Then also he said certain things in the interview that weren't remotely true, that were inaccurate. So I wonder how this is going to play for the future of this trial. Because it makes you wonder, because again, he's like, it was an alternate juror. And as soon as the jury came in and put in their verdict, this dude's already on CNN telling his story, talking about 350 pages of notes. And yeah, that felt like a full on, hey guys, I wrote a doggone book. 350 pages of notes? Really? So again, what? I got to roll that back just a tiny bit, maybe a lot of bit. I don't know, but that is nuts. So what the hell? And you also got to remember, we might have to go back to that interview near the end about the process of him being chosen and everything, because we might have to get back to that again just to hear that piece, because there's some parts here that just don't make any sense. Because again, remember, he's not the only one. Okay. He is not the only one. There was juror number 6. He lied. He straight up lied. Remember that. He lied, guys. And then he was kicked out because he said, yeah, I live in the Bronx. No, I don't live in the Bronx. I live in New Jersey with my girlfriend or fiance or girlfriend or fiance. Remember all that BS? And then the defense was fighting tooth and nail, trying to keep that guy there because he was Balak. Remember? Yeah. There's all these other people that, yes, they went through a vetting process. They went through voir dire. They were all auditioning, let's just be real, auditioning for the role of juror in this trial. And yes, I'm sure they were able to cut through the BS on some of these people, but some other people flew through the cracks and probably lied through their mother-loving teeth. So again, oh, snap. I may be wrong, guys. I may be wrong. Maybe there is something going on here. Maybe something else sinister is going on here. Because why would that juror suddenly misrepresent himself? Make that make sense. Let's go back. I'm going back to the beginning. I'm sorry, guys. We got to run that again. Yeah, Red, extremely grimy as hell, right?
Okay, here we are.
Real
Matthew
quick.
Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, it's Tuesday, July 8th. Now, on the U.S. versus Sean Diddy Combs, after his 2 convictions with 3 not guilties, today at 2 p.m., there is a hearing on expediting his sentencing. His bail was denied, but the judge seems committed to move his sentencing up from October 3rd. And I'm assuming that Mark Agnifilo and his other lawyers will be asking for time served when the time comes. Now, meanwhile, so we'll be doing that at 2. Instead of it being by phone, which it could have been, since it's virtual for the lawyers, it'll be in the courthouse. But so will we be. There it is right there, the courthouse. But there's been a development. Early in the trial, in the first week, in fact, before the trial's testimony and even opening statements began, During jury selection, we noticed that one of the prospective jurors said he worked at the UN Office of Counterterrorism. And then he was asked, does that mean you work in any way with US law enforcement? And he said, no. Now, I used to cover the United Nations. In fact, I still do. I write scoops daily about it, but I report on it pretty aggressively. Anyway, I know that office, and they do work with US law enforcement. So it just sort of stuck in my craw that why would this juror be misrepresenting? And on a second day, they asked him more about it because it wasn't credible. He said, no, we work only with Interpol and something about the Dushanbe process. Okay, didn't think more about him because he's just an alternate. And he knew he was an alternate. Only one alternate actually made the transition to being on the jury. That was alternate 1, who took the place of juror number 6, who was ousted for misrepresenting, according to the judge, where he lived and the credibility issues raised thereby. Now, alternate 6 went on CNN right after the verdict. And he said, first he said he inflated his importance by saying, no one told us who were the jurors or who were the alternates. That's totally false. He was there, I was there. Anyone that covered the trial heard them say, you are alternate 6. Fine. Then he said that the videos that no one saw except the jurors and alternates at the time, he said, they were riveting, but also kind of tame. Now, the question was put to him, he said, the prosecution showed videos of Cassie just sitting around. The interviewer then said, you mean the defense? He said, oh, yeah, the defense. So then he went out of his way to mention 350 pages of notes, which, to me, call me a cynic. I believe alternate 6 misrepresented to get on the jury, as we reported at the time. And as soon as it was over, somehow was contacted CNN to mention his copious notes, possibly to sell a book.
Again, interesting timeline, right? Interesting timeline of events. Now, it could be completely innocent, right? It could be absolutely 110% innocent, but then at the same time, it's like, wait a second, he was in there and then he was on CNN so damn fast. Now, I'm not calling out CNN, okay? I'm not trying to call out CNN. All I'm saying is the timeline seems a little bit odd, right? And that he's saying certain information that, at least according to inner city press, he's saying is inaccurate, right? That there's certain information that is not true and not right. So again, this is very, very interesting. Then again, like I keep saying over and over and over again, and I'm trying to find this a tweet here, but they keep saying, that or he kept saying, oh, got 350 pages of notes. Like, Key went and really dove in and wrote a very thorough notebook filled, I'm sure, journal, right? So again, this seems to be this is just very weird. Okay. So I found the tweet. Let me just pull this up right quick. Cause again, like I said, that's some interesting stuff though. That is some interesting stuff. Let's take a look. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. And guys, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Okay. Hit it. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that like button down below. Of course. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to do that. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. We will be talking about the Tyler Perry conversation for sure. Most likely later on this afternoon. Okay. So we're not going to miss that conversation. We definitely need to have that conversation for sure. Okay. So be on the lookout for that. Cause I know a lot of people are like, yo, hey, you going to talk about Tyler Perry? Yeah, Tyler Perry's on the docket. He's definitely on the docket. Most likely, it'll be a discussion that we will have this late afternoon or early evening, just so that you know. Okay, but let's get into this. All right, this is what Inner City Press put up. All right, says in this trial, it was made absolutely clear to the jurors and alternates which ones they were, juror or alternate. So again, boom. And I know somebody just said, hey, my husband heard the air horn in the background and said, you must be watching Pascal. Yep, you're watching the Pascal show. So he says, in this trial, it was made absolutely clear who the jurors were and who the alternates were. Okay? Juror or alternate. And if you really think about it, think about this for a second. Okay, guys? Think about this. Okay? Think about this for a second. Okay? I just want to bring this up because actually Inner City Press is a freaking genius. Okay. Another air horn, Pascal show. Anyway, here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Remember juror number 6. Juror number 6, the one he lied, right? He said, yeah, I live in the Bronx. No, I live in Jersey with my fiance, right? That guy full of lies because he lied, right? Remember that mother lover? Okay. They got rid of him and they brought in an alternate. Let me repeat that again. Air horn, the Pascal show. Here it is. They knew what roles they were playing. Let me repeat that again. Juror number 6. Okay? Juror number 6 got kicked out. And he got replaced by somebody else, an alternate. Those alternates definitely already knew that they were alternates. If every juror in that jury pool were sitting in there, not knowing whether or not they were alternates or jurors, then they would have just said, hey, juror number 6, kick rocks. See you later. Wouldn't want to be you, right? They wouldn't sit there and go, yeah, we're going to bring in juror number 25 or whatever the juror number was to bring in. They wouldn't do that. They would literally just say, see you later, deuces. Have fun. Go with God. Don't let the door hit you where the Lord split you. You know what I'm saying? And they would just keep moving. But they said alternate came in and took over, took his spot, took juror number 6's spot. Remember? Yeah. So again, that doesn't make any sense. The jurors knew who they were, and the alternates knew who they were from the jump, from Jump Street, y'all. So again, they filed in the courtroom in the same order each day. Jurors 1 through 12, then alternates 1 through 6. I know I know it is different in some state jurisdictions, but let's be real. So again, what Inner City Press is, what argument he's making makes a lot of sense. For this guy to go up there and say what he said on CNN does not make any earthly sense. It's inaccurate. He knew he was an alternate. He knew he was an alternate before they went into jury deliberation. Come on now. I'm just saying. That's very interesting. Now, what does that mean for the future of this trial? For the future of the trial? Probably nothing. Probably nothing at all. But clearly, CNN was able to get in touch with this guy very, very quickly. Then he went on to CNN, said, hey, yeah, I wrote a whole bunch of 300 pages of pages. Yeah. Yeah. And riveting. It was absolutely riveting. The footage, but it was very tame at the same time. But I wrote 350 pages of riveting notes that I don't even know what to do with now that the trial's over. But 350 pages of notes. Riveting. Come on now. Interesting, though. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Just saying. Does that mean anything? It could mean nothing, but it also could mean so many different things all at the same damn time. Okay? So we'll see what happens. But then at the same time, it doesn't make any sense if, like Kath just said, they were all paid off. Now, if they were all paid off, I feel like Diddy would be like, get me off on everything. I want freedom. I don't see him going, yeah, let's play with people. Let's play with people's minds. I don't want them to think that I walked out because I paid them off. So just give me the pro charges, but don't give me the RICO or the STing. All right. So I'll just spend a couple years in prison. No big deal. Right? It just seems a little bit weird to me. Like I said, if I was Diddy, I'd be like, and if I was paying somebody off a jury off to do this stuff for me, I'd be like, yo, get me all the way off. Okay? Set me free. I don't want to spend not one more day in prison. Exonerate my ass. Okay? That sounds like a terrible, terrible role play thing that he's probably going to be doing in prison, but exonerate my ass, right? So again, interesting information there. Okay. Take it for what you will. But here's the thing. I did want to point this out because this is something. Okay. Let me just say this first and foremost. All right. Numero uno. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's like, no, Diddy, get me all the way off. Like, I didn't mean to say it. Like, it's tough. Like, all these phrases have double meanings and everything. This is crazy. Okay, it's crazy. But again, let's keep it real. All right. If he really was trying to get free, I feel, and he was paying the jury off, he'd be telling them to set him free fully. Set me free. Amistad, straight up. But I just don't think he would do that. Or I just don't think that he paid the jury off. I think that there's been some mistakes made, you know what I mean, by defense and by prosecution. But prosecution stuff was weaker. That's why they were able to set him sort of free, right? Sort of free. But here's something else, okay, guys? I have got to share this with you guys because, again, take this with a grain of salt. This is Candace Owens. But a lot of people are listening to this and going, well, maybe she's got a point. So I just want to play it for you guys so you guys hear it for yourself, all right? This is a very interesting claim, a very interesting theory. So let's just rock and roll.
Top of the ring, okay? And it sounded like it was a Fed operation. And so it was a show trial because the feds are never going to reveal the feds. He was not at the top of the ring, okay? And it sounded like it was a Fed operation. And so it was a show trial because the feds are never going to reveal the feds that are in control of an operation. And the minute that they did not bring Christina Karam, the involvement that this woman had, apparently it's like having a Jeffrey Epstein trial and not like a public Jeffrey Epstein trial and not mentioning or bringing up Ghislaine Maxwell.
She does have a point there. I'm sorry. Come on, guys, let's keep it a bean. That doesn't make any sense, right? That's my argument. Yeah, I know it's quorum for crying out loud. It's not Karam. But anyway, okay, they didn't bring in KK. Why didn't they bring in KK? I think that's just so strange. But like I said, broken clock can be right 2 times a day.
Like, that's how you know it was a show trial. So this whole fake, oh my God, I can't believe you got away with it. Of course you got away with it. This was a Fed operation. That is my viewpoint. I am never going to change it. I think he's the Jeffrey Epstein of the hip hop world. He was doing what he was supposed to do and what he was told to do. And we're never going to get any information because now everyone's gotten their show trial. And there are people on the streets that are pouring baby oil on top of themselves. I'm not kidding. His fans and supporters, as a show of support.
I feel bad for Armand because I feel like they got every angle of this dude lathering himself in baby oil. Oh, good gosh. And I know he was doing this in jest, but now it's just all over the place. Good golly.
It's disgusting. I'm laughing at just the state of humanity today because women are in the streets throwing baby oil on themselves, excited that he is found not guilty on the bigger charges. And I'm maybe asking for a reset. We just need to reset on humanity, just kind of back to the factory settings here.
I feel like we need to bring back shame. I'm sorry. I said it. They need to bring back shame again because I'm sorry. The stuff that Diddy is being found guilty of and what he was on trial for is no reason to be out here in the streets lathering yourself in baby oil and rejoicing. This is, like I said, this is not the second coming of Christ. It's not. Sorry, not sorry. It's not. This is a very, 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 very bad situation. A dude who did some very disturbing and very messed up things, and he got away with it. Okay, he got away with it by the skin of his teeth. He should be thanking his lucky stars. He should be the one bouncing up and down. Maybe not lathering himself in baby oil, but he should be thanking the sweet baby Jesus up above for saving his ass. Real talk, right? But there's things here that don't make sense. This trial made no freaking sense. Real talk. You got people, big names that could have been brought in for testimony, and they did not bring any of these people in. That makes no sense to me, y'all. That makes no sense to me, y'all. Okay? It makes no sense. Okay? Forget what people are doing out in the streets, lathering themselves in baby oil, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm waking up in the middle of the night going, baby oil. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm not waking up in the morning, you know, going, oh God, you know, lathering themselves in baby oil. I don't do that. I don't care. Right? It is what it is. People are going to do what they want to do out there in these streets. Let's keep it a bean. But at the same time, we need to bring back shame. I'm sorry. We need to bring back shame. What happened to shame? Bring back shame. Because again, there's certain people, I'm really telling you, literally, real talk, people could have just been like, all right, okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what he did is shameful. What he did to these women is shameful. Sorry. Okay, he's not in trouble for it, right? He's not going to jail for it or prison for it. Fine. But at the same time, what he did is shameful, y'all. This is not normal. And it should not be embraced or celebrated. Let's be real. It should not. See, this is the reason why we have the world that we have right now, where we have, it's okay to be a freak elite. This is okay. It's okay to be like that. 110%. It's okay to do things like this to people. This is acceptable. This kind of behavior is acceptable. Come on, we could be better than that. Come on now. We can be better than that. Just saying. Just saying. Okay? And it's not even just the people. I'm not even talking about the people out there in the streets. I'm talking about Diddy. I'm talking about bring back shame on Diddy. Right? And the things that he was exonerated for. Because there's still a lot of information that was said in there, like I said, that is shameful. It's deplorable, disgusting, and wrong. There should be nobody out here doing cartwheels. There should be nobody out here just pumping their fist up in the air and lathering themselves in baby oil. Because at the end of the day, there are people who are out here that are literally weeping and crying because they are victims of this guy. Truly victims of this guy, not people who are just after a bag. Okay? There are people out here that are absolutely devastated because they're like, we were hoping for justice. Or I was hoping to testify. They didn't ask me to come in and play. And I'm mad because I would have ran that ball all the way to the end zone, touchdown all day long, right? They didn't bring those guys in, those people in, which is a damn shame. So again, you know, this is just sad, okay? This is just very, very sad. And again, this is not a situation where we should be embracing and hoisting him on our shoulders as a community and saying, yay, he free. No, we shouldn't be. Okay, you got off. Okay, you got off. Congratulations. Now go sit down somewhere. When you come out, you sit down right there. Don't move. Okay? Do not move. Stay right there. Enjoy the rest of your life. Okay? We're going to go and continue on with ours. That's what should be happening. But it's almost like people are starting to hoist them on their shoulders, dancing up and down, right? Like Moses with the damn golden calf. Okay? Okay? Let's be real. Real talk. This is your God. You know what I mean? Is this your king? You know what I mean? So again, bring back shame, especially when it comes to this Diddy situation. Bring it back. Good God. Just bring it back, just for 1 second, okay? Not so much that it causes mental health issues or anything like that. I'm just saying bring back shame, okay? Common sense shame. That's it. You shouldn't be doing that. It's wrong. Shouldn't be doing that at all. Period. Bring back shame. Okay? I said it. I don't give a about that, all right? It's sad. It's sad. Because we don't need to be out here like that. But again, this is the world that we live in, y'all. This is the world that we live in. Now, real quick, I just wanted to give you guys a few updates in regards to the tornado, not the tornado, I'm sorry, towards the flood, okay, in Texas. That's what I was trying to say. The flood in Texas. I do want to give you a few updates revolving around that because, of course, we are keeping an eye on that, okay? Real talk. We do need to talk about this. So real quick, just wanted to give you a quick recap. Obviously, Central Texas is underwater. Apparently, there's some other floods going on elsewhere in North Carolina, if I'm correct, okay, which is absolutely insane, all right? But real quick, before we, do, Curio, okay? Self-respect. That's what I mean by shame, okay? It's self-respect, right? Like I said, people just need to make better choices in life, and Diddy is definitely one of those people that has to make better choices in his life. Now he's getting a second chance at life. We'll see how he acts, right? But he's screwed for the rest of his life. Just so you know, he is screwed. He walks into the wrong supermarket, walks into the wrong restaurant, talks to a person the wrong way, touches somebody in a quasi inappropriate way, he's going to get sued. Okay? Anytime he curses somebody out, he's going to get sued. If he cuts somebody off on the highway, okay, on one of the big busy highways in LA, right? He going to get sued. He is screwed. Okay? He is a walking lawsuit now, period. So here's some updates. So last night we talked about this, just so you know, 104 at that time. Now I'm understanding that it went up to 105 individuals that lost their lives. Okay. Apparently 6 individuals are still missing right now as we speak. Okay. So again, we got to get into this here. Damn. So now it's gone up to 108 people that have lost their lives. 108 people. All right. And this is going across 6 different counties. In Kerr County, officials reported 57 adults and 30 children. Okay. As of this morning, they have reported those deaths. Okay. Which is absolutely terrible. So 87 is in Kerr County alone. Okay. So there's rescue crews are continuing to comb through the region, but hope is fading for these particular survivors. Now, I want you guys to remember the Camp Mystic situation. Okay. Camp Mystic. There was, the girls, all those girls, they have now said that they lost all 27 of those campers and counselors. Okay. So it says right here, okay, Camp Mystic grieves, okay, Camp Mystic, the summer camp at the center of the devastating flood that has hit the Texas Hill Country over the last 3 days, is quote unquote grieving the loss of the 27 campers and counselors. Okay. Authorities said today, which is still Tuesday, that 5 Camp Mystic campers and 1 counselor still remain unaccounted for. So there's still 6. Okay, but they are still saying that they're grieving the loss of 27 campers and counselors. So I don't know what's going on. Okay, which is absolutely insane. Okay, so let me. Jesus wept indeed. So rescuers from Mexico assist with Texas recovery efforts. Interesting. So you got people from the Mexican embassy coming through and helping them out. I hope ICE doesn't get them. I'm just saying, you never know. People be wilding out here. ICE is wilding out here. So I'm curious about that. Emergency response personnel from Acuna, Mexico, and members affiliated with the Mexican nonprofit foundation 911 traveled to Kerr County to assist with search and rescue operations, according to the Mexican embassy. So again, ICE better keep hands off, ICE. Dag nabbit. ICE, hands off. But sharing updates of their efforts on social media, Foundation 911 said its group was requested to lend a hand in Kerrville and in Ingram. So in a post on X, U.S. ambassador to Mexico, Ronald Johnson, praised the rescuers' efforts, writing that the U.S. and Mexico stand together as a family in times like these. Okay. You see the pregnant pause that I just made. Moving on. Mexican President Sheinbaum. Mexican President Sheinbaum. That's a very interesting last name. Mexican President Sheinbaum. Okay. Also recognized the work of each rescuer while expressing willingness to provide further support. The cooperation reflects Mexico's longstanding principle of providing aid to the U.S. during emergencies, demonstrating the solidarity between our nations in times of crisis. This is what the Mexican embassy said in a statement. So, of course, they said Mystic made me who I am. Camp alumni honor flood victims. So former Camp Mystic campers and counselors gather in Houston for a vigil honoring the lives that were lost in this July 4th flood. We got to take a look at that.
Standing in a big circle. Camp Mystic families come together in song.
Mystic made me who I am.
Because I love the camp. It's my home away from home.
Hundreds honoring the campers impacted by the catastrophic floods in Central Texas.
A lot of them were some of my cabin mates' sisters.
The aftermath of the flood destroyed the campgrounds that held many memories, and the cabin 8-year-old Stella Gullidge once stayed in.
I just am really sad of what happened about Camp Mystic, and I wish it never happened.
I want to say, yeah, absolutely. Mexico. Cabrón. Muchas gracias. Mexico. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. I appreciate them coming through and putting in lending a helping hand, because real talk, it's all hands on deck at this point. It's absolutely crazy out there. Okay. And it's beyond just Camp Mystic. Okay. Just being real. There's a lot of people that have lost a lot of loved ones. This is an absolute devastating situation. And I know that's the key word, kind of like last week or the week before that, it was obliterated, completely obliterated, right? We had obliterated being the code word for last week or so when it came to Israel and Iran, right? But this is definitely the code word for the week, right? Devastating. Devastation, devastated, devastating.
I saw the cabin where I had my first campers. That was a photo that came out. I saw my first cabin as a camper, and it just doesn't match with my memories.
Inside the Church of St. John the Divine, a packed sanctuary, praying for the girls and others whose lives are changed by the floods. Camp families spreading mystic sisterhood, wearing white and wrapping trees in green ribbon.
How would you want everybody to remember them and to honor everyone at Camp Mystic?
By just keeping them in your thoughts and prayers and making sure that they're not forgotten and everyone's remembered.
Yeah, man. Some sad stuff going on for sure. So here it is. The grief is visible near Camp Mystic. So a sign reads, Jesus wept, that sits propped up on debris on the riverbank from Camp Mystic, where girls had been tucked in their beds just before floodwater overwhelmed the camp. Yeah, this is really bad. So on the 5th day since the historic and tragic flood on the Guadalupe River, the search for survivors continued in some places, while in others, large equipment signaled a shift to cleanup. And obviously, you can see like they emptied out some of these cabins with a bunch of these girls' trunks and all that. It's pretty bad. You know, it's a bad situation. Real talk. In fact, there is something that I want to pull up here that I need to find. Because there's something that is very strange going on, or, you know, that doesn't make a lot of people are wondering about this, given the fact that there has been a history of this. Let me just say this really quick. There has been a history of floods, flash floods in this area. In fact, there were floods that happened in the 80s or something like that. And there's footage of that. and showing people, like talking about how they were given a heads up. And this was in the 80s, y'all, right? So there's footage of that. So we need to talk about that. I'm going to show you guys that too. But real quick, of course, do me a favor though. We're almost at 1K. If you guys can hit that like button down below, that'd be really appreciative. Let's get it to 1K really, really quick. Don't worry, we're only tapping in on this for right now. We're gonna come back to it in a little while. But I did want to give you guys the updates. Like I said, today was going to be a mixture of different pieces of news and all that. Okay, so we're only staying on this for a brief moment. There is something I want to share with you guys here in a second, but hit that like button down below. Let's get it to 1K. That would really, really mean the world to me. Of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Crush it. Crush that subscribe button, please, and thank you. Okay. Yes, let's get it to 1K. But there is something I want to share with y'all, though. Ooh, ow, 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 ow. That was loud, man. So Governor Abbott is touring the area, which I think we should take a look. I just need to pull something up off of my phone really, really quick, okay? So just give me 2 seconds.
I'm trying to find it, but I'm having a hard time finding it. Hold on, guys. I'm moving this back a little bit. There it is.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what there's that. Okay. Now here's the thing. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Because I want to show this to you guys here real quick. Oh, stop. All right. I think this is very fascinating. Okay. And this is from DL Hughley, comedian DL Hughley. He put up this post that I found interesting. This is old footage from 1987, the Guadalupe River. Okay. Same small Texas towns, another group of church camp kids swept away. Okay. So history literally repeating itself. Okay. And of course, he put underneath his caption he said, this should have never happened again. No excuses, right? So we got to take a look at this. All right. So hold on. Let me just refresh this and then do this.
7. The small town of Comfort, Texas, became the scene of a heroic rescue and tragic loss. Much of the footage you will see was taped on that day by the banks of the Guadalupe River. It was the day they were supposed to go home. The more than 300 children at the church camp were awakened early. The river was flooding. If they didn't leave soon, their buses might not be able to leave at all.
Now, I want to point this out. Now, obviously, this is a reenactment, of course, but at the same time, like, they had a heads up. And this is 1987, y'all. Come on now. 1987, and they had a heads up. Packing up all this stuff, getting in buses, etc., trying to get away from this soon-to-be flash flood. Also, I want to remind you, the area in which the camp is and the campgrounds are and where everybody was, where they got wiped out, okay? The area in which they were in was also nicknamed Flash Flood Alley. So if you know that the area is called that, why would they call it Flash Flood Alley? Right? Like, it's like going to Lover's Lane, right? Or the going to the makeout point, right? Clearly you go there to make out. Clearly you go there to, do the sideways samba and hook up, right? Like, it's not named it just because they feel like naming the area Flash Flood Alley because it just sounds cute. No, they named it that because it's known for flash floods. So again, it makes no sense, y'all.
They come in there rushing us up and everything, telling us get up, get packed and all this stuff, and everybody was asking why. They said we gotta get out of here because the river was flowing over.
We started going around the corner, where to go down the hill, then water started coming in the bus and stuff. We tried to back up, but then the bus got stuck, so they made all of us get out of the bus.
And that's whenever the first wave hit us and started scattering people to different trees.
So again, these kids got into a bus. They tried to get out of the situation. And then what happened? They still got overwhelmed by water. But at the same time, they tried to get the hell out of that situation because they had a little bit of a heads up. They didn't get a heads up this time. There was no heads up this time, right? This is 1987. Technology is a lot different now than it was in 1987. Okay, I think they were getting really excited about the first computer and freaking fax machines, for crying out loud, right? So what's going on here?
Kids clinging onto the trees like ants, surrounded by rushing water. Chris Ray was the first to be rescued.
How many are there of you? There's about 40. How many? 40 in the bus. Well, the bus. We all got the bus. Wherever the bus goes, going down.
As news bulletins spread the word of the flood and accidents, more help arrived, but many parents feared the worst.
I know for me that it was like you've got two daughters down there. Now, obviously, they both are not going to make it. Which one would you choose? Which one would you have come back?
I mean, it seemed like every tree had a facial to it.
Again, think about this, okay? Think about this. You got floods going on that happened in 1987. Now, obviously, this one is the worst that we've ever seen, right? They say century, the worst one in a century, okay? But at the same time, still something happened, and there were massive floods happening in the Guadalupe River, flash floods in 1987. So regardless of this being biblical, okay, because that's what people are saying now, biblical, like this is of epic proportions, biblical proportions of a flood, which it truly is. It's bad, okay? You'd think that they would have learned some things in 1987 and started implementing those things way before this happened in 2025. Seems a little bit odd, don't you think? that the very area that they call Flash Flood Alley actually has a flash flood, and they don't even have any type of emergency communication infrastructure implemented to make sure that the people who are staying there are properly warned before ish hits the fan? Make that make sense. 26 feet of water rose in 45 minutes. Imagine that. And yet, in 1987, they had some sort of emergency communication infrastructure put together that got those kids at least a heads up on what was going on so that they can get out there as fast as they could. Yes, they still got caught in the water, but at the same time, there still was something that was implemented to keep those kids safe, or at least to try to get those kids to safety. This time, no heads up, no warning whatsoever. Think about all the technology that we have in 2025. Shoot. We got Kim K's mama looking like Kim K right now. Technology and science is out of this world right now. Okay? We can control so many different things with our phone. Okay? Technology is at an all-time high right now. And yet we still can't even have the simplest of communication to let people know when ish is about to hit the fan. In a place that is also nicknamed Flash Flood Alley. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. We're going to continue on, though. I just wanted to give you guys that update. It's pretty crazy and sad. Okay. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Doesn't make any sense, y'all. Does it? Okay. And I don't know how y'all feel about the Epstein conversation, okay? But I will say this. People are feeling some type of way. Some people are feeling some type of way about the list don't exist. You can miss me with that nonsense. You mean to tell me that there was thousands of kids that were moved around by a monster named Epi, and he ain't got no list? How about the people who are flying his planes, moving people from place to place, from one place to his island and back? How about all the parties that he would have? How about all the people that were involved in those parties? You mean to tell me none of them are on a list? None of them? Not even a little Rolodex? Come on, y'all. Come on. It's so dumb. And I know some people feel some type of way. They're like, well, you know what the government found out is what they found out. Leave them alone. They've been teasing about this list for years, y'all. For years. And suddenly out of nowhere, you mean to tell me that the list does not exist when all they've been talking about is this list? Oh, we're going to expose the list. The list is about to blow your wig back. Oh, the names on this list. We have it right here, sitting on our desk. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Get ready for it. You're going to lose your mind when it drops. Every single person that was tweeting this thing, tweeting those things, putting those things out there for everyone to see, everybody was sitting there saying that. Oh, this is going to be crazy. I've seen it myself. I've seen the list. I've seen it. Right? And they're all going, wait till you see the names on the list. It's crazy. And then they come out and say, oh, yeah, it don't exist. Oh, yeah, he didn't do it. He did it to himself. Now, here's the thing. I believe that he probably did it. He did that. I believe that. Okay. But because I also think that he had way too much information, way too much scathing and smoking gun information, that I think he was scared, worried for his life. He already knew he was going to be spending the rest of his life behind bars. So he went and he deleted himself. Okay. That's what I think. All right. I do think that. I'll leave that. I'm going to lay that to rest. Okay? Cool. Bet. But then when you talk about this list, and that's all they've been talking about. His list, his list, his list, his list. And then suddenly you say it doesn't exist anymore. Something rotten in Denmark. Something rotten in mother-loving Denmark. You can't tell me that it was just him and Ghislaine. So then why is Ghislaine, okay, why is she still locked up then? If there ain't no list and he ain't got nothing to do with any of these other people, why is she being locked up then? So the thousands of littles that he did all kinds of crazy stuff, moving them back and forth and all that, right? The teeing that he did. You mean to tell me that those are only for his own appetite? Come on, y'all. Come on. Talk to me. Come on now. So then why is she locked up then? Thousands of littles. Only for him? Now, here's the thing. I will keep it a bean. Okay? Let's be real. It's not a far-fetched idea that Epi may have had a very disgusting, deplorable appetite. Clearly he did. He was willing to move these people back and forth. All right? But thousands? Only for him? We've heard about Diddy, okay? And Diddy's nasty, okay? And he went through some mans. He definitely went through some men, okay? You got Rico, Chef, Sly, The Punisher, all these other people, okay? Dave, a guy named Dave, okay? So you got plenty of names. Maybe in the hundreds, right? But thousands? That's another level. That's a whole other level. Only for Epi? Only for Epi. I'm sorry, you can miss me with that nonsense. Now, I can see why some people are mad. People are actually mad at Trump because of this situation. He said he was going to expose that ass, right? He said he was going to show everything, right? And he's going to show that whole ass. And he didn't. Because now that list don't exist. That list is gone. Make that make sense. Hold on. What's her freaking name? Okay. Yes, let's get into this. Let me show you what I mean. This is from Caroline Levitt. Of course, she is the secretary, okay, press secretary for the White House and everything. She gets asked straight up about the Epi list. We got to take a look at this, okay? I'm sorry, we got to. And congratulations, Duncan. You a smart man. Okay, Duncan? Okay. Yes, guys, Al Pacino, Heat. Whole ass. But moving on, okay? She said, well, she says in here, they literally go, so, excuse me, what about the list? Can we talk about that? Because that's the thing that everybody's losing their minds over, right? So we're going to address the elephant in the room. What's up with that list, though? What's up with that?
To get to the bottom of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable. And I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the president's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
How does that make you guys feel? It's very well rehearsed, but she is a very good speaker. I will give her that. She is very young, okay? Very young, but very well-spoken person, okay? That sounded rehearsed like a mug. Real talk, sounded like a... It sounded like BS to me, though, okay? This is crazy. And one thing I hate more than anything in the world, this is the thing that I really, really hate, and I'm going to keep it a bean. I'm sorry, y'all, okay? It's just something I feel like I feel like this is the only administration that does this, and I'm sorry, but I'm speaking and pointing out something that's very true, okay? This is not like I'm sitting there going, oh, I hate Trump, or sitting there going, I love Trump. I'm just pointing something that is very true. There is always a jab at the previous president, previous administration. There's always that. There's always a jab at them like, oh, it wouldn't have been possible with the other people. But with us and our great leader, we were able to get things done because the previous guy, bad. This guy, great. Haven't you noticed that? It's always the same thing. I'm sorry, but it's true. Okay? Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. Doesn't matter. But it's something I've noticed every time, right? If it wasn't for me, because the other guy, he stinks. Me, though, I smell like roses. You know what I mean? It's just weird. It's an interesting observation. Once again, we're hearing that too. Without us doing it, the other previous administration wouldn't have done this. So now we're going to give you the information that you need. So we went and we did our due diligence. We did our investigation and we came up with nothing. Still nothing, guys. Nothing at all. So again, how can they sit there and try to stand out here triumphantly on information that you know for a fact the general public is side-eyeing and saying is BS? Let's continue.
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Okay, time out. I just need to do a quick recap. Okay, Pam Bondi, okay, Attorney General, Pam Bondi, okay, she said exactly this. Whoops. She said, oh, I got the list on my desk. I got it right here on my desk. Dag nabbit. Hold on. I got to pull this down. We're coming back to her response, but it's just a quick recap flash, okay? A flashback, if you will, okay? Hold on. Let's take a look at this. Here it is. The infamous video, the infamous clip that everyone's sharing over and over and over again, because she literally says, I have the paperwork. I got the list on my desk. We're about to look through all that stuff. And yeah, nobody super surprising that's on there yet.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
I'm just saying, when you hear it literally on camera, this isn't something that was written. This is not something that was, like she didn't. No. This ain't even AI. She said this on Fox News, which, of course, Trump and the administration is trying to turn their backs on Fox News now. Okay, they're literally going in on Fox News because of the, everything that was going on with Iran and Israel and Trump getting America involved and all that stuff. Okay, so there's still kind of a little bit of a tug and what's the word? A tug of war. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of a push and pull going on between the relationship of Fox News and Trump, which, by the way, he used to love Fox News. Now, apparently, they're neocons. Like, I don't know what the hell. They come up with new names every day, okay? Just so you know. But nonetheless, this woman went on, Attorney General Pam Bondi went on to Fox News Live and said exactly what she said. Oh, I got it on my desk right now. We about to go in. We about to look in all that stuff. Get ready, because it's going to blow your wig back, right?
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
Not yet, though. She said nothing incriminating, yes. But of course she's not going to answer that question. If she saw the likes of, like, you know, some huge names, do you think she's going to out them right there on the show? Probably not. She probably is not even going to give the people that service of actually saying their names live on camera. Of course she's going to hold and holster that information as best as she can until she is able to maybe piece together some sort of indictment against these particular people, right? But what's interesting is that the list doesn't exist. The list does not exist. So, again, what? So let's go back to that video. He just asked that very question. This is literally the video that he's referencing right there. Let's hear what the House Secretary says. Get ready for it.
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. That they promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
You saw how she spun that, right? She's good. I'm going to keep it real. She's good. She spun that. Yeah, it's like, what? What? What you say? Yeah, she spun that. Okay? Because she doesn't really have an answer for it. And let's be real. It's not true. I don't think it's true. You can't sit there saying something for years, say one thing for years, and then suddenly when it's time to actually nut up or shut up, you say, oh, by the way, it doesn't exist. That makes no sense. Okay, so here it is. And even if it is true that there really was no list, which I clearly don't think that there was, which I clearly think that there was, okay? If that part is true, why would they be amping everybody up for so long about it, only for it to turn out to not be true? You see what I'm saying? You can't go for years saying, get ready, that list is going to be crazy. You're going to lose your mind over this list. That list is going to be nuts. And then when they finally go and show it to you, they go, oh yeah, by the way, nope, it doesn't exist. Nope, it's not real. Of course, everybody's going to look at you, the government, the administration, with an inquisitive eye. They're going to be side-eyeing you like a mug. Of course. You can't sit here all day long saying we're about to expose the truth. We're about to drain the swamp. Drill, baby, drill, drill. And then suddenly go, oh, yeah, we ain't drilling nothing because there's nothing there. What are you talking about? You can't bamboozle the general public because the general public's too smart. We don't forget things, especially when it's something that people have been obsessing over for so long. They keep on saying, drain the swamp. So Dwayne, drain the swamp then. Where's the drainage? It's crazy, guys. Yeah, I really think that the administration thinks that we're dumb. That we're just going to go, oh, there's no list? Oh, okay. And just move on. No, baby, we're not. We're not going to do that. Sorry. We just ain't. We don't roll like that. Okay? We really, really don't. Okay? So something about this is nuts. Okay? Hold on. Let me see what the hell's saying. Let's see what the hell is saying here. And they're playing the clip too. They're playing the first clip because, yeah, everybody's staring at Pam Bondi and being like, what the F are you talking about? You've been saying one thing and now you're saying something else, baby. Sup with that, dog? Sup with that, dog?
The list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Well. Attorney General Pam Bondi is catching heat for those comments that she made on Fox in February of this year.
Fox News' Peter Doocy grilled White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at the briefing yesterday over what Bondi said. Let's watch.
News. Go ahead. John Roberts said,
Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead of this here really quick because we've already heard that part. You know, she's just slinging BS in my personal opinion, okay? But this is what she's here for. You know, she is the queen. She has been donned, okay, the queen of spin, right? So she's going to spin it as best as she can right there, shooting from the hip, right?
People are put behind bars.
Back in February, Bondi also faced backlash for her disappointing release of Phase 1 of the Epstein files. A handful of right-wing influencers were handed binders and posed for photos. Files contained nothing revealing whatsoever. One of those influencers, podcaster Liz Wheeler, wrote on X yesterday, "I'm supposed to be on vacation, but it's time to fire Pam Bondi."
Now, everybody, I got to hit the button. I'm sorry. Okay. And we'll see you soon, man. Okay. Have a good one. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. But here's the thing. They want her fired now, guys. They want Pam Bondi gone because you don't do this. You don't go out here to the public and go, yes, there's a list. And it will blow your mind who's on the list. And then when it's finally time to present it, oh, it doesn't exist. There's no list. Stop lying to the general public because everybody and their mama is going, nah, bruh. You can't say one thing and then suddenly take that back. You can't take that back. You just can't. Okay?
Meanwhile, journalist Michael Tracy, with a hint of humor, wrote on X, Epstein theology is just like any other mystical dogma. No countervailing evidence could ever disprove its core precepts. It now lives in a realm beyond falsification and traditional modes of empirical reasoning. The FBI might as well try to disprove reincarnation or astrology.
Many on social media have also
I'm sorry. Oh, my God.
pointed to an oddity in the surveillance footage of Epstein's cell that the Justice Department released. If you look at the time on the bottom left corner of your screen, you will see the clock jump from 11:58 a.m. right until noon. An entire 2 minutes, a minute rather, of the footage is missing, which has, of course, sparked some theories.
Oh, my damn. Interesting, right? Wow. But and there's a lot that can be done in 2 minutes, babies. The lot can be done in 2 minutes, but okay.
So we're still wondering what the truth is. We discussed this a little bit yesterday.
We did.
I appreciate the anger from people in MAGA world. I think it is very justified.
It's not just MAGA world. I'm sorry. It's universal. Everyone is upset. Everyone is not buying it. Okay. Trust me. It's all walks of life basically saying, what? Why are you holding this back? It's not just MAGA. It's not just MAGA, guys. It's everybody. Everybody's looking at this and going, nah, they out of pocket for this one. They out of pocket for this one. Or they're going, yeah, miss me with the nonsense. Is there something that has to do with some of maybe it's some of the administration's pocket or something like that they're worried about exposing. That's what people are saying out here. Don't blame the messenger. I'm just repeating what's being said out here in these internet streets.
I guess everyone who covered this story was treated like suckers by some of the people installed by Trump, by frankly Dan Bongino and certainly Pam Bondi and others. The whole binder thing now seems just like an utterly toxic, disgusting display. Phase 1, that was just like trying to set up a sequel, like a trilogy or something, for when they were going to provide no new information whatsoever. The damning thing is using the phrase or going along with the phrase client list. Look, if there's no specific document or no additional documents showing that these are the people he was trying to blackmail, then they never should have allowed us to believe that that was the case. They should have been honest from the get-go and said, no, you guys we kind of already know the full story. It involves Prince Andrew and some other people. People in the administration let the public believe that there was more information and that would be coming out. Now it's not coming out either because there is no more information, which a lot of people don't believe, or because they don't want to share with you what they know for a variety of reasons, because it could be embarrassing to them. It could be embarrassing to Pam Bondi specifically. It could be an intelligence-related thing, but I'm furious.
I think what he just said is exactly what everybody's feeling right now. Everyone is upset. Everyone is a bit perturbed about this information because there's been several years. They've had several years to turn to everyone and say, listen, guys, no, there's nothing there. There is no list. Just letting you guys know. There's no list. The list does not exist. It's a rumor. It's a fugazi. Okay? It ain't real. That's it. They could have ended this before it even started, but they never did. They let it sit there and linger. In fact, sorry to say this, but Trump even used this to be like, I'm about to expose everything about JFK, MLK, and also about Epstein. Everything will be exposed, right? He said that in his campaign for re-election, okay? Those are facts. And then when the opportunity was to present themselves with some facts and truths, it didn't show up. That's messed up. Now, I also will say this too, just so you know, other administrations had opportunities to correct this as well. It's not only just on Trump. We had Biden beforehand. There was an opportunity for him to come forward and go, let me be clear. You know what I mean? Cookies. He could have easily said, hey, this stuff is not real. The list does not exist. You got it wrong. The rumor that's flying around here is not correct. They could have had opportunities to do something about it, and they didn't. And so now you got both sides of the party, both sides of the political spectrum, pissed off, right? So that's a note. Thank you so much for the super chat or super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Big Migs, what's up? Thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. I thought you just became a member, right? Didn't you? But okay. Bondi said she had the list on her desk. She did. She most definitely did. And now she comes out and says, there's no list. Yeah, okay. Not to mention 1 minute cut from the surveillance video, which we just saw. It was actually 2 minutes, just so you guys know. 2 whole minutes that was actually cut. Big Migs, 2. So again, seems a little bit weird. And a lot can be done in 2 minutes. If you have a plan and you are passionately trying to get something taken care of, a lot can get done in 2 minutes. Okay? Why was there a jump cut there? That seems a little bit odd, don't you think? So anyway, again, everyone's going to be side-eyeing the F out of this situation for sure. Ride the guy. What's up? Thank you so much for the super chat. If she was told to review those files as the director of as at the direct, I think you're saying at the direction of the president, then she would also be releasing or not releasing the same information on the direction of the president, correct? Interesting. Yep, you got a point there. He's like, go. I need you to look up everything that has everything to do with Epi. Please and thank you. Drill, baby, drill. And then she goes and does that. And then maybe found out some information that looked very bad for Trumpy. Maybe. Or maybe not. We don't know. Right? We do not know. But what's interesting about this, though, this is under Trump administration. They've had plenty of time to turn up and say, hey, sup, just so y'all know, there is no list. We're going to get it right out the gate right now. We're not even going to get you guys hyped up. We're not even going to gaslight you. We're not even going to do nothing. Okay? We're going to get straight to the point. There is no list. But we'll give you the files so you can see everything else for yourself. And you're going to see a whole lot of nothing, or at least a whole lot of things that you already know. Okay, so nothing new, but we'll send those things to you. All right? Blessings, right? That would have been great. But unfortunately, that's not how it went down, right? Tamara, thank you so much for the love all the way from Canada. I appreciate it. Look into the light. MAGA is only 7 months in. What happens in a year? You know, that's a good question. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens, right? Just like every administration, we just got to sit back and see how they handle stuff, right? I always hope for the best. We'll see what happens, right? But at the same time, this is not a great start. I mean, this doesn't help. I wouldn't say it's not a great start. There's a bunch of things that are going on that a lot of people disagree with in regards to how the administration is running things right now. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping some transparency comes out, because it just feels like I feel like a lot of people, at least, MAGA, okay, or at least supporters, were very excited about Trump and his transparency. And this is one of the moments that we're seeing a not so transparent moment, right? We're witnessing a not so transparent moment right now, which, at least for what people believe, even MAGA supporters are looking at this and saying, why is he hiding this? The transparency is palpable here. You can cut it with a knife. So again, this is going to be very interesting. Like I said, okay? This is going to be very, very, very interesting. No, didn't say Trump is a liar, Elgato. Nope. The cat. No, I didn't say that Trump is a liar. I'm saying the transparency is not there. Okay? Hold up. Time out. Nobody said that he was a liar. I will say he's a liar when he's a liar. Trust and believe. I just feel like transparency is not there. And I don't like that. And I know that a lot of other people don't like that, because they've been hyping this up for so long. But let's continue on.
Yeah, well, I think understandably so. I think that Pam Bondi quote that we played right at the top is pretty damning in light of the way things have developed.
Yep.
Because this thing that was sitting on her desk has mysteriously disappeared or failed to exist all of a sudden several months later. So obviously people are going to have questions. And the Epstein thing, yes, there are some conspiracies around it in the sense of people claiming to know for sure things that none of us can know for sure. But I don't think it is a conspiracy to say this is massively suspicious that you have this guy who is just a predator on a huge scale and connected with extremely wealthy and extremely prominent and influential
and extremely
people.
wealthy himself,
right?
Evading jail time
Right.
in a way that is, or having a very lenient deal, and then being able to resume high-profile association.
Sure.
Usually they come down pretty hard on people who are, correctly caught with child pornography or doing things of that nature.
Yeah.
You go to jail.
Right.
This guy got to come and go as he wants. So that's what the suspicious thing is.
It is the suspicious thing, okay? It is most definitely the suspicious thing. And it's frustrating because, like I said, this is not what we want to see. We want to see transparency. We want to see the truth. And like I said, you can't stack up something and then knock it down and say it didn't exist when it's been stacking up for so damn long. Let's be real. And this is just something that I wish was not the case. I wish that there was transparency. I wish that they did put this stuff out, because I do think that there is a list. I mean, shoot, the list is probably destroyed by now, okay? It's probably gone and destroyed by now. But at the same time, I just wish this was a different situation. But what say you guys, right? What say you on this? Do you believe it? Do you believe the hype or no? Do you think that the list doesn't exist or does exist? Let me know, okay? Because, again, I still think it's out there somewhere, okay? I do truly think it's still out there somewhere. But anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot, okay? I'll be back on probably later this evening, to go over the Tyler Perry lawsuit, well, the allegations of Tyler Perry Studios and one of his VPs. We got to talk about that for sure, okay? It's just been busy with the Texas flood and all that, okay? But I will be on to talk about that for sure, okay? But thank you so much for all the compliments. And, oh, yeah, I forgot. We got to go and hit that poll. So let's see what the poll says. So it says out of almost 1,800 votes, okay, 62% of y'all think that he should have gotten all charges. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. Very interesting. So yeah, some of y'all think he should have been locked up for good. That's very, very interesting. 62% of y'all. Anyway, wild. Anyway, I appreciate all y'all for being here. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Again, we'll be doing this again tomorrow, talking about things that are going on in the world, the big topics and all that, and then some. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for sure. But tonight I'll be on to talk about that Tyler Perry lawsuit, or not the lawsuit, but the allegations for sure, okay? Do me a favor, though. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms, make sure you hit that follow or like, okay? I'm on all of them, so please be sure to do that, all right? Don't forget to subscribe here on my main channel. Please and thank you. Here on YouTube. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Subscribe over there as well, okay? Please and thank you. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com, all right? But anyway, guys, it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Have a great one. Stay blessed. And we'll talk here soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.